This week we've got me, Parker from fanatixfour, and Max from Loot Pots. Hello, Max.
But also my own life.
You're so true. You are from your own life,
Maybe
not from Loot Pots for a hot minute now.
But, no, I'm still apart. I'm just busy. I'm a busy boy.
Yeah, it's true. So, but in any case, we got to keep the lights on here. And so usually AJ does this whole spiel. He's not here this week because I was gone last week. So it was like, you can take this week off.
Yeah,
and he was like, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Can I try the housekeeping?
Cool. Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Okay, off the top of my head. You can support this channel by going to youtube.com/fanatixfour and hitting that join button and join for $4.99 a month. You get exclusive emotes, you get gaming time with Parker and AJ, you get exclusive badges, you get Switch keys from time to time, and you get access to the supporters only Discord, where Duncan says yo, 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 and a bunch of other fun stuff like that. You can also join the Discord just by clicking the link in the description and joining for free and just having a chat with people. It's really nice. You can also go to twitch.com/fanatixfour, give Jeff Bezos his money to the boys when they go on Twitch. It costs nothing for you, but you also get all the same stuff as when you subscribe with YouTube.
It's true. I just did that I remembered. I was like, I haven't used my Twitch Prime subscription in so long. So I just went over
I forget because it doesn't lapse. You have to remember to do it. I gave it to Chloe from the Loot Pots, who streams a lot, and then she muted me in her stream, and I got kicked out. For no reason at all, actually. So I'm just not giving her my money anymore, and it's free money. It's just going to waste. She just can't have it. Yeah.
That's really funny. You could still subscribe if you were muted. You just didn't want to.
Yeah,
for obvious silly reasons.
Yeah. Why would I want to support someone that's going to censor me? That's the literal definition of censorship, I think.
Who's to say?
Anyway. Did I miss anything on the housekeeping, or was that okay?
I don't know. You did better than I would have done, to be honest.
Sick.
So I would have just freeballed it and said some other things.
I'm freeballing it right now, but not in a...
Yeah. Work from home, you know what I'm saying? Okay, but yeah, that's it. Let's get into the stuff. We've been playing some games, probably. I've been playing some games. What about yourself? What have you been up to, Maxwell?
So I guess in the time since I was last on the show, which was probably a few months ago now, I've played a lot of games. On Switch, though, not so many, actually. I think last time we spoke, we talked about Xenoblade, so it must have been May.
Yep.
Since then, I completed the game. You completed the game. You completely missed the Collectopedia, which annoyed me a little bit. You even made a comment about it.
Yeah,
but recently,
I did a very casual playthrough.
It's because you're a casual man.
It's accurate.
Smart casual. As recently, I've been playing on the Switch. I played Carrion. That was good. Played that on launch.
Yeah. Did you beat that? Or finish all of it and stuff?
Yeah, so I didn't 100% it because of so there's no map, which makes backtracking to older areas really tough because they're sort of like a hub world. But I was just going around in circles around there, like, how do I get back to these old areas? Because there's like little bits outside the areas that say, you've gone here, you've done this, you're missing this. And so that's really handy because I can go okay, I can go here and do that. But finding the old areas was really tough without a map.
Interesting.
So I just finished it. I thought the ending was a bit anticlimactic. I won't spoil it. And I mentioned in a tweet that when you get all of the powers, so it's a Metroidvania, you're going around picking up new powers. You know, you're this big blob of flesh spaghetti and you eat people.
That's a very accurate description.
Yeah. You have like spikes and you can rush things and you can pick people up and turn invisible, all this sort of stuff. By the time you have all of the powers and you're like, I can take on anything, the last area is kind of, there's nothing to kill. There's no big boss. There's no sort of... Yeah, I was a bit disappointed. I mean, it was a good game. I enjoyed it. I finished it. I don't know. It wasn't very long, but I did finish the whole thing.
Do you feel like it hinted towards like a sequel or anything like that?
No, I would say definitely. I mean, they
sometimes that can be anticlimactic. Like, I finished an indie game, whatever, I don't know, at some point, and it definitely hinted towards like, and even more in the sequel.
Katana
but it was
Zero
like, oh man, oh yeah.
Katana Zero?
I didn't, but I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, so like at the end of it, the story goes like, here's the story, and you go, wow, and then it goes to be continued, basically. Yep. I know there's more coming for that. But I think Carrion, there's definitely like room for a sequel. They could definitely like, with the way it ends, it's like,
yeah.
But now, they didn't actively say anything. I thought that I got like the bad ending, because I did the ending and was like, oh.
Are there multiple endings?
Well, that's what I thought. I looked at it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Well, it's a new game, so there could be ones that were found after I played it. I think I've beaten it in the sort of first 3 days.
Yeah.
But the very seltzer water. Right at the very end, I like restarted from like the last save point I did and was like, right, I'm going to go a different route because I'm pretty sure I saw a route I couldn't go. But it turns out it's just like a loop, and I didn't recognise that I'd been back to the same place. So yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. That was last week.
Cool.
This week or so on.
Sorry, I was going to ask about that before we move on. you said there's a story. I played the demo for it at PAX. That's all I've played. It was good. AJ got a key for it, so I might try it out on his as well. But I guess just general question. So there's a story to that game.
So it doesn't seem like it. I use the story quite loosely. There's sort of like flashback sequences. I won't spoil what it is. So I kind of theorized that we'd have like a tragic backstory, that we'd find out that this flesh monster had like a tragic backstory.
Was like a person that turned into a monster or something That's what I'm speculating.
Yeah, I wasn't quite there. But there is like a plot, I guess. You find out sort of more of the origins of the thing. It's not the same sort of tragic backstory, but there is like elements to it. It is a lot of sort of like, the game is essentially go into an area, maneuver around the area, killing things, find the points to deposit your mass to take over more of the facility, which opens doors. Door goes into the next area, and then you sort of go over.
Okay, gotcha. So you don't continuously get bigger and bigger throughout the whole game because you have to like deposit it. Some of it.
So you don't, when you deposit. So there are like pools of water where you can deposit your flesh, because like, so all of the abilities. They're
so funny.
Sort of, that's gross, isn't it? Each ability, so there's like 4 in the corner. It's got like you might hit down. Here's your rush on right bumper. Right, is that what they call it on Switch? Right bumper. ZR. No, Z.
ZR. Yeah.
Z or yeah. You got it. R. That's the one I'm looking for.
Oh.
And then L will be a different one, and then ZL will be a different one, ZR will be a different one. So when you unlock a new power, that new power might make you be able to become bigger. And to become bigger, you consume more people, you go bigger. You can only use one set of powers as one size. So at your biggest, you have like a set of powers, and then medium size has a set of powers, and small has a set. So the small, for example, can turn invisible and go past beams of light that might activate a trap, or activate like a mine that will stick to you and kill you. When you're super big, that button will instead give you a shield, for example, if you take a hit. So if you're at a puzzle that requires you to be a smaller size, then you have to deposit your mass in like a pool of water, and then you can go back and pick it up later. But I ended up, because there's so many enemies around, I ended up like returning back to old areas, and there's just old clumps of my flesh in a pool of water, and I was like, I'll come back here later if I need the health. Never did. So when I said it was Metroidvania earlier, which I'm using it kind of loosely, because it does have the sort of like pick up power-ups, explore, there are hidden secrets, things like that, but it is very linear. You are just, there's not much backtracking, and any backtracking there is a chore.
Yeah, that's Ashley and I were talking. I was telling her what a Metroidvania was for whatever context, and we played like the first half of Greece, and she was like, "So Greece, that's kind of like a Metroidvania." I was like, "Kind of." But kind of not.
There is a point in the game where you sort of can go back, can't you? But I'm not sure there's any. You can't go, from my memory, you can't go back to like the first area, and there are bits you couldn't get before. You could probably get them all.
I think it has some progression that like is. I mean, so many things can be Metroidvanias depending on how broadly you kind of extrapolate that. But then I think there is a narrower definition where I'm like, probably it's not quite.
Yeah, I mean,
but
Greece has like
there's nothing against it. It's just
progression.
It is more linear though, and stuff like that.
Yeah, which nothing wrong with linear games.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes it's nice to explore. Sometimes it's nice to be taken on a journey that has been handcrafted and is very nice, which Greece was. So yeah, Carrion, that was good. I'd recommend it. It's only sort of 17 quid. Maybe wait for a sale, because it's only sort of like, I guess I think I must have done it in 5 hours. Possibly less, no more than that, I don't think. Though. There's a guy, Asobi, one of the sort of Loot Pots supporters, who said he picked up the game on Games Pass, beat it in 2 hours, and he was like, oh, that's that. Which me, as I was like, going around here, trying to get to the old areas, didn't quite do that. So that was Carrion.
Definitely, some games can depend on how much you complete them. I mean, me versus DJ as far as Xenoblade, took you 70 something hours, him 35, me like 45 or so.
I hit 100 hours on that game, by the way.
Oh, really?
But I was also like very nearly max level. I'd done all the side quests. I'd 5-starred all of the areas. I'd finished my Collectopedia, Parker. Finished the Collectopedia.
You? The Pedia? Oh, man. So, but yes, you keep starting to say, then you played something else. What else?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, on the weekend, I was, as I added Carrion and I completed it to my Metroidvania list on Twitter, I was getting a lot of comments. Guy called RetroX, I think his name is, nice guy, was sort of going through the list and commenting on the ones that he played and was enjoying. And in the end, he said, "Oh, have you played this game, Out Buddies DX?" I said, "Oh, no, that skipped my mind. I'll look into it and maybe add it to my list at some point." Then found a DM the next day from the developer who was like, "Hey, would you like a code for Switch?" And I was like, "Sure, that sounds like fun." So I got that, installed that, started playing it. And yeah, it's good. It's one of those ones where Out Buddies DX.
Out Buddies DX. Okay.
You might have seen it. It's one of those ones that like pops up in like I don't know if you watch a lot of like 5 indie games you've missed kind of thing. That'll pop up every now and again. It's kind of, I mean, it's a 2D pixel-based Metroidvania game. Who's that for? Who's been that been made for?
AJ, definitely for AJ.
Yeah, definitely an AJ game. That's some nerd trash. It's got like a really interesting art style. It's all kind of dark and lots of purples and bright colours and the sort of the design. So if you look at it on like a large scale, you just look at it, you go, okay, that just looks like a pixel game. When you sort of go into it, but you're like, oh, actually, this is quite detailed. Some of the enemies are quite detailed. Their animations are quite nice. You sort of crash landed, I think, on a planet. You're like this. It seems like you're the bad guy at the start, which was interesting. I thought I was looking at the villain, and then we crashed. Then it looks like I'm playing as him. He's got like a twiddly mustache and little glasses.
Oh,
and inside of the helmet, when you pause the game, is this face. It's like, oh, okay, I'm playing as the bad guy, or am I? I don't know yet. I'm not there yet. There's a lot of controls to pick up at once, which I didn't expect. Because usually these kind of games, you start off with you can jump, you can shoot, and then you pick up abilities one by one, and then they happen. But in this one, you're sort of moving through the first area, and it's like, okay, you have a dodge, you have a crawl, you have a jump, and you get your gun, you can start shooting, and then you get like you've got this robot that follows you around that you can use to pick up things and move them around. I think it's also got like a catapult beam attack. That you start with that. It's not like you pick it up. You start with that, which was interesting because there's a lot to learn. It's quite challenging actually. I'm a little bit lost right now, but it's good so far. I'm looking forward to getting more into it and giving it a go and adding it to my list. But it just seems to be like a nice Metroidvania. It's got a nice map system. It's quite big. And if the developer listens to this, I'm going to probably send him a link.
Cool.
I really like the thumbstick. On the map, there's like an animation of the right thumbstick being moved around. Okay. It's really satisfying. It's just really like it just has so many frames to the animation. It's also like pixel perfect. It's like
and it's just to show like that you can move the thumbstick around or something.
That's all it's for. It's nice.
Yeah, it's good. Devil's in the details, that whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm enjoying it so far. Looking forward to diving more into it. I've been very busy this week playing The Surge, which I started 3 years ago. It's not on Switch though, so I'm not really allowed to talk about it.
No, never. You dare.
One of my many, many games I played this year, thanks to this lockdown. So
yeah, for sure.
Nice stuff.
Are you like most of this? Are you playing a lot of stuff on Game Pass? You don't have Game Pass, do you?
I have a free sub to claim that I got for buying my graphics card, but I haven't. You're
mostly just getting games on sale on Steam.
Steam sales happening. CD Keys is a great site for picking up cheap games on Steam and stuff, which is legit, unlike G2A, which I don't like using because it's stolen keys and it's dodgy. It's just a dodgy site. Yeah, it's a bit dodgy. But CD Keys I can trust. So I've just been sort of burning through my backlog of like. So last year the Switch was just so phenomenal at having like. I mean, once you hit June, it was just game after game after game. And everyone was really good. It was like, oh wow, Fire Emblem, oh my god, Astral Chain, oh my god, it's Link's Awakening, and all these games were coming out like Control and Jedi Fallen Order. Got me some more Control and Jedi Fallen Order.
Sekiro? No, that was like early last year. That was like February. Wasn't it?
Yeah, but whatever it was. But like all these games that I'd missed because I was like just not playing it. Anything that wasn't on Switch, I was just purely Switch. So I've just gone back and just beat out my backlog, and also then just picked up some other stuff that was on my backlog that I then enjoyed. It's been fun playing loads of different games, loads of different genres. What have you been playing, Parker?
Yeah, that what you said would lead into our next topic, but I'm going to talk about the games I'm playing first.
You go first. We can like segue into the conversation that we just had, and then segue that back into the
which would be so fluid if people didn't know it's probably about to happen. So
edit it out.
Nevertheless, I'm not editing this. It's possible, by the way, if you're watching the video version of this, usually AJ puts the intro at the beginning of it, and my computer takes so long to render videos. Like my weekly videos take like 45 minutes to render for a 15-minute video or 12-minute video or whatever. It's bad. So that said, there might not have been an intro at the beginning of the
Parker,
video podcast.
You could have done it. You could have done the do do do.
And then just like you move your hands like this to show all
the I'll have like colours on. I've got like different coloured hats. I'd be like
that would be perfect. But no, so yeah, all that said, I'm not probably gonna get to do any editing. So good thing you're not gonna, say any swears or anything. I've been playing some games though. This week played some more Paper Mario. I'm really enjoying it. You didn't pick it up, right?
No. It just didn't appeal to me. But I know there are people that were like me and were like, no, that picked it up and going, oh, actually, this is pretty good. You weren't that into it, were you?
I was excited about it first, and then by the time the treehouse happened, I was like, man, I just don't know.
I just want to play Bakugan now. That's what
yeah, exactly. Where really outperformed that Paper Mario with that Bakugan. But no, yeah. So I wasn't sold on it, and I was like, I'll just play it a little bit on AJ's account and see if I like it. And then made the mistake of playing too long on AJ's account. I'm like, I don't want to redo the beginning. So this is just payback for Fire Emblem.
Of course.
But
you lose your save file, man, just like AJ did.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But you know what? I can just, if that happens towards the end, I'll just watch the end of the game. But it's a lot more, the things that I was concerned about, because I guess I wasn't on last week because I was gone, and the week before that it had just come out, so I'd only played a little bit of it. But the battles definitely are more complicated than I thought they were.
Okay.
Like, at the way beginning, I was listening to NVC last week, and they were talking about it a little bit. And
it's IGN, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I know IGN gets a bad rap, but like if you listen to this and don't listen to NVC, that's fine. Do whatever you want. But also, it's great. I really like their podcast a lot.
I like the guys on there.
Yeah, and Casey DeFreitas does a real good job hosting it and all sorts of stuff. But Tom Marks was talking about him playing it and like how the battles at the beginning it works you into the battles pretty well. Where the puzzle part of it, the first, I don't know, chapter, or at least first half of the first chapter, it's not split up into actual chapters, but that kind of a thing. They will show you the solution first and then move into place. Like, this is going to be a line and a 2x2, and then they'll go whoop and jump into something else, and then you'll have to solve it. And he'd only gotten to the point where it's doing that, and so he complained about that because it's like, it's kind of easy because you just know what's going on.
You just undo the thing they do.
Exactly. And it stops doing that at some point, and then it's like, okay, but I can still see where this is going. And I've hit the point now where sometimes it's still really obvious, and there's some times where, like, every once in a while I'll add some extra time because like I'll have messed around with it so much that like I'll have reset it back to 0 and I'll have like 1 second left on the clock. I'm like, well, here goes nothing. So,
and this is with you can use the coins to extend the time and stuff.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. I haven't done any of the Toad stuff just because that feels like too much cheating. I don't know, but extending the timer for a puzzle bit feels like fine. But more often than not, if I have to extend it, I'm not going to solve it anyway, so I might as well just deal with the consequences.
Yeah. So, at least now, because it's the same every time, right?
So
if you were to fail an encounter and you went to that encounter again, it'd be the same puzzle. So you could like just go, I'll just do it again and just do it for first time.
Yep. And that's honestly, I like the fact, because one of the things I'd mentioned on here that I was worried about was that it was either like there would be a couple presets that everything is, or I was hoping at least maybe that it would be randomized. And I think this is actually better than it being randomized, is that every single overworld encounter is different more or less from each other, but like planned out differently. So it's, that means that it's like, I don't know, they actually work out well.
Do they respawn?
They do, but only after you've finished. So like once you're going through the story part of a section of, some area or whatever, they'll all disappear while you're going through it until you finish it, leave. And then if you come back, then they'll respawn.
Go back and grind for those sweet coins. Yeah,
exactly. So it's, which I really like. So I was just on Princess Peach's ship, the cruise ship from, it's in like Mario Kart and stuff like that you ride around on.
Yeah.
So that's in this. I assume it's the same ship. And I was going around there. And so they were all disappearing as I was going through. And it was a nice feeling to be like, right here was an enemy, but I beat them. So that was fun. But yeah, I don't know. I really like all the collectibles, just like finding stuff. And because the enemies disappear and don't respawn until you come back to an area, it still feels rewarding to battle them.
Oh, you're ticking off a box. You don't have to if you avoid an enemy, then you have to avoid it for the whole rest of the story, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's I'm just overall enjoying it. And I hit a spot that I think people have been kind of talking about where like there's a touching moment,
So, have you watched Donkey's video on the game?
I haven't. I didn't know if it was going to spoil stuff, so I was like,
Yeah, I think the moment that people are talking about is spoiled by Donkey's video.
I'm sure it is.
Which I think is a shame because there might
Yeah.
be, I mean, I guess if you're playing the game, then don't watch it. But
exactly.
Because I mean, watching Donkey's video is my biggest exposure to the game post launch.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
Tweets and stuff, it looks fine. But watching that video, I got more of a sense of the world and the characters and the humor and stuff like that. And it seems like a game that I actually probably would enjoy. Ella was saying it's a game that she would like as well.
Yeah.
Because it seems funny and there's like puzzles, and there's like fun characters, and there seems like a lot of variety and stuff. Like I saw I don't know if you're there, there's a cowboy bit, and like I said, there's a bit on a boat. There's all sorts of different areas. It looks quite fun. I'm just not sure it's the kind of fun game that I would spend £50 to play.
Yeah, right. And that's super valid. Yeah. I think, honestly, there's tons of games that I would spend the money on. Like Astral Chain is a prime example of a game that, like, if I hadn't been playing anything else at the time, I would have picked it up at the time. But now the time has passed. I'm like, the time has passed. Something about that is just like, there's some games that I'll go back for no matter what, but then some other games on a slightly lower tier where I think this were another one of those where possibly if I didn't play it at launch, well, I technically didn't pay for it yet just because I'm still playing on AJ's. I'll probably actually get a copy of my own down the road. Just
you can actually play it and just go through it all over again.
True. And speaking of that, so Paper Mario, but then also I feel like I've been playing just a lot of little stuff. And I don't remember what any of them are, but
you've been playing a lot of
lots of little stuff
of the tree clubhouse
games. Yes, accurate. If anybody watched my video, Renegade is the worst.
Yeah, you said that you beat Go, but you can't beat Renegade. What's Renegade then? Explain Renegade to me.
Also called Othello.
It is. I was going to say. Okay,
yeah, there you go. I think it's just the generic name for it, whereas Othello is it's like the Yahtzee versus Yacht Dice or Uno versus Last Card.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Or Sorry versus, what do you guys call it in the UK?
Describe Sorry to me.
Ludo. Oh, it's Ludo. I think you just call it Ludo.
Sorry. Is it with the little round-headed triangle body pieces? Why is it called Sorry?
I don't know. I think it's because you land on someone and you're like, sorry. That's all I can guess.
That is what I mean. See, we don't do that. We go Ludo and I go, oh, yeah.
Do you really say Ludo?
No, we never.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You guys have Clue and we have Cluedo.
That's true. I don't know why that's different.
I don't know why that is.
Also, Cluedo, whatever. It's a thing. But yeah, Renegade is just hard. I remember really liking playing it as a kid. I'd play with my mom. We'd play chess and stuff growing up. And but yeah, it's funny seeing which of these games are surprisingly hard versus not being that hard. I was pretty good right off the bat at backgammon, which I didn't necessarily expect. I don't know. It's just a game. But then
you're an old soul at heart. Aren't you?
Yeah. But then checkers was surprisingly difficult.
Okay.
To actually win and get strategy and stuff going. Because I think
difficulty levels.
There are. Yeah. So a lot of the games, not all of them, but a lot of the games have normal, hard, advanced, or amazing and impossible, which obviously are exaggerated difficulty levels. But some of them Renegade for some reason, again, Othello is, I think my brain's just right now it's wired opposite from it or something, because I keep being like, I'm making such good moves and then realize that they've got me set up in something that I can't get out of, and it's bad. Sorry.
I've got a Parker tangent about
Go for it.
A friend of mine was playing a game called Night Squad on Xbox One. Night Squad is now on Switch, actually, by the way, which I was
okay.
It's what just like a so it's like a sort of party almost top-down 2 to 4 player multiplayer game where you're a bunch of knights. You've got swords. You run around, you press a button to swing a sword. There's different modes. So you have a capture the flag mode kind of thing. You have a mode where you have to kill everyone, a mode where you have to claim all the points and stuff like that. But when we were playing, so there were 3 of us. We were like, we need another team of 3, and we'll just compete against the computer. So going through the difficulty levels, and we're like, easy, no, normal, no, hard, no. Went up against it, disabled, and I was like, they can't say that. I was like, they can't say that. There's no way. But what that actually meant is that there were no NPCs. But we were like, this is rude. This is awful. They've put
That's so, yeah.
But it was actually just disable the NPCs entirely.
Oh, okay.
NPCs. And I was like, wow. Like,
they
for a second,
probably need
like,
better verbiage or something.
Yeah, for a second I was just like, I don't like this game anymore. This is not good. But yeah, luckily it was just a misunderstanding, and we heartily laughed at how stupid we were that we thought it that level.
Yeah, that's true.
So you said there's like difficulty levels in Clubhouse games. Is there like a story difficulty level for those that just want to enjoy the story?
Yeah, it's called Xenoblade Chronicles. I'm just kidding. No, yeah, I'm sure you're joking, but there's no story at all. It's just a bunch of, okay. I figured you were, but for anybody else out there that didn't know, I mean, they kind of try. The story is playing the game, and the story is you and your friends having a good old time. That said, I've played with no other real human people, very few other human people.
Surely you played with Ashley, right?
She doesn't care about board games like at all.
Oh no.
She loves party games. But like board games, we bought a while ago. I was like pretty into board games because a bunch of my other friends were into board games. This is before the Switch. And I was at a place that had a bunch of board games trying to find one that Ashley and I could play together. And she was into Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the show at the time. Nice. And we found a Buffy board game and we're like, let's play this. And it's cooperative. It's like a Pandemic or that kind of thing. It's, you versus the game, or more like Betrayal at House on the Hill. If anybody's played that
game,
it's great. But we on Friday or something last week, we were like, let's play a board game, and we set it up, and we finished setting it up, and that took forever. And Ash was like,
board games take forever to set up.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's kind of like, it's more complicated than setting up Betrayal.
Betrayal was quite quick, I think, because you
set it up as you go. Yeah,
you just lay down the home piece, pick people, and go, "Oh, that was there."
And then, I mean, understanding how the game works was the other part. I was just then starting to read the instructions. So, in any case,
friends that are really into board games, and they'll buy a board game, and then they'll be like, "I want to play this board game." And we're like, "Okay, play it first, and then we'll all play it together." So that whoever gets the game
play it first.
Down, look through the rules.
Okay, good.
I've got friends that are very like.
That's good.
Felix, he's the game guy. He has the house we play the games in. He has all this
stuff.
That's
Elijah for me.
Dungeon Master. he's the guy, right? He's our Elijah. That's what we call him actually. We say,
yeah, of course.
We're like Parker friend Elijah. He will sit down, he'll pop all the poppers out, he'll cut out the inserts for the box, all the stuff goes in the right place, he'll put all of the cards in their sleeves, he'll read the rule book twice, and by the time you sit down, he's like, here is exactly how you play this game in every scenario that I have learned. And you just play the game, and there's no issues, there's no questions, because Felix has done it. Be like Felix when you play a game.
Be like Felix, Or
Elijah.
Be like Parker playing Buffy.
Yeah, don't do that.
So in any case, did that. And then the last thing is yesterday we played Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze in multiplayer.
What a
game. Yeah. Tough. It's actually easier in multiplayer because you lose lives way faster. But if one person dies, the other person loses a life and just respawns.
Balloon appears, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that right? There's a barrel or something? I don't know, whatever it is.
Oh, well, you're in a barrel that floats down from a balloon.
That's the one. If you miss it, go again.
That's true. So, but yeah, that's been fun. Ashley has been enjoying that. It's because we'll play platformers. Oh, Yoshi, that was the other one. All right, I'm done talking about games that I played. It's been a good time. I played games, but I've got a
question about Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze first. Have you played it before?
Yes, I beat it all the way through. Yes.
Good. Okay, so I completed it up until the final boss. And when I say completed, I mean like I did every of the
all the K levels. I think there's A, B, and K levels.
Yeah. So I did all the K levels. I unlocked all of that stuff. Final boss, I had to go around a friend's house, give him a second controller, and go, let's play this together. And I had 99 lives because I was just churning through picking up lives on my own. And then by the end of it, we were down to like 30 lives because we just kept dying and dying.
Wow.
Final boss was hard, man.
Yeah.
Anyway,
interesting. I didn't remember the final boss being that hard, but I definitely remembered some of the K levels being that hard. Like I had 99 lives and I'd go down to like 60 on one level, then pop back up. Yeah. And then, float around.
The K levels is they're quite rhythmic, weren't they? It reminded me a lot of the Rayman Legends music levels, but instead of being like an actual rhythm game, where it's like, it was like, it's like you just learn like jump, duck, roll, jump, roll, jump, hold A to do this jump, swing, let go, yeah, dodge that, cool. And then by the time you've sort of done it a bunch of times, you just do it.
Yeah. Which is nice. Yep. And you know what? We hope's going to do it. Nintendo. We hope they're going to do it. The 2020 This is the main topic. It's taken us a hot minute to get here, but we're here.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a hot topic right now, and maybe this will change as early as next week, as late as never.
Yeah.
But Nintendo just kind of has been really silent for a lot of 2020, and most of which has made sense because obviously COVID and all that stuff. But it's starting to get to a point where, at what point does their silence start to like actually damage them, or rather, is it just like too late? You know, like if they're like, all right, hey, guns blazing, it's October 15th. You know, like at that point, that's kind of, it's a little bit too late. So, so let's talk about it.
So this has sort of been it wasn't an issue for me as much because of things like COVID and stuff like that. And I had other things to play.
Totally.
The only time it started to become like this is annoying now is when Sony came out with their PS5 event and it had all this stuff due for the end of the year, all these game announcements, and I was like, I mean, if Sony can do it, and I know that Sony, a lot of their stuff is Western. I know that Japan has actually struggled quite a lot with working from home because they just don't have the infrastructure for that to work from home like we do in the UK or people in America do. They don't have sort of the quick Wi-Fi and all of the stuff that you need at home to be able to work from home. So they probably struggled with that. But at the same time, you know, they've probably had stuff in the pipeline for a while. It's not like it's not like we're waiting on games that are being developed or started right now. These are games that should have been, sort of, you know, in theory would have been finished or close to finished last year. So now we're at the point where, you know, Animal Crossing came and went, had a great time with that, and I was like, what's next? Which I guess, you know, constantly being what next is an issue that I have with certain things, where like when they first announced Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze for Switch, people were like, great, that means they're going to release a new Donkey Kong game. And then it's like that announcement and all that came with that was suddenly meaningless because all that did was then point to the next thing.
Right.
And there's a lot of that in directs of like, oh, it's cool that they've announced this thing. That must mean the next thing.
Right.
So when the game is announced, it then becomes, it's not like when's the game coming out because of the hype cycle that's been generated by directs and things like that. It's what's the next thing to be announced.
I feel like Bayonetta was kind of a victim of that as well. When Bayonetta 1 and 2 came, it was alongside the announcement of Bayonetta 3, at which point then it was like, cool, Bayonetta 1 and 2, got it. When's Bayonetta 3? And then now here we are, you know.
I think when you compare like the first year of the Switch, when it was like January, they were like, okay, we have Mario Kart, we have Splatoon 2, we have Xenoblade, we have Mario Odyssey, we have Breath of the Wild, we have all these games, and they're coming this year and they're happening. And they did. Every game happened, every game hit its window, it happened, and then that was that, right?
Yeah.
E3 comes along and they go, we're working on Metro Prime 4. So we have almost been conditioned in that year to go, well, this must be coming fairly soon. I know they say it was in development and that didn't mean a lot, but we then obviously had an expectation based on the great year we'd already been having and then continue to have that maybe this sort of thing was happening. And then in December, you know, hot on the heels of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they go Bayonetta 3, you go, okay, cool, it must be in the way. Shin Megami Tensei 5, same sort of thing. They announce it. We go, cool, this must be a thing that's happening then, because Nintendo hasn't been doing, here's a game, and then we're not going to talk about it forever. And then as we've now found out that all of the Nintendo games that are currently planned are logos. We have 4 logos and half a trailer for Breath of the Wild 2. I think now we have more information on SMT 5, which is next year now. So that's fine. But yeah, like, what's the plan? Yeah. What's going on? It's, you know, they announced. I feel like I've been talking a lot, but stop me if you have anything to say. They announced Origami King. Yeah, when was that? May.
Yeah.
They announced
it was like May. A week or two before Xenoblade, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay. So they announced that, and they're like, "This is next," and we then thought, "Cool, they're obviously going to now, instead of a direct, just announce things through tweets. Whatever they had planned for E3, they're going to announce for a tweet. That's fine. That's great. It has the same impact as a direct, possibly also without all of the speculation and the disappointment of, oh, we should have seen this. We were told by some leaker that this was going to be there. All you get is, this is the game that's coming out, and you go, cool, this is happening. And then Paper Mario's now come and gone, and we don't have another this thing's next, this thing's next, this thing's next.
I think what's interesting about all this to me is that if I step back and think about, like, why does it matter? You know, like that, I think that's an important thing to think is, either you could think on Nintendo's side or on, like, from a business perspective on their side, or for us as fans or for people as fans in general. On their ends, I would think that it matters because, you know, if they're not talking about things, then nobody's knowing about things, and then nobody's going to buy Switches and games and stuff like that. But that's definitely not the case in terms of like actual sales. Like Switches are still selling out.
Oh, Switches
People are
amazing.
still buying, like Animal Crossing. There's a whole ton of backlog stuff. So like really then Nintendo's side, more or less fine. And then on our end, obviously as Switch fans, like for me personally, I care only because it's fun, not because I don't have games to play, So like that's the tricky thing too, is like I don't want to be too I don't know, demanding or something like that. But it's just a weird situation because it still feels like there's obviously a whole bunch of people that don't have stuff to play, or I'm sure have stuff to play but don't want to play a backlog or any of that kind of thing, and just aren't excited about the future of the Switch. And I think being excited about the future of something that you care about is important to keep people engaged. If we were like, we're not going to do any more fanatixfour videos, a number of people would just unsubscribe and then not pay attention anymore, even if we kept doing fanatixfour videos. So like a certain messaging of here's the standard that we're going to uphold will keep the people that are already in staying in, because they're still winning people. But I don't know. So that's the thinking about like, why does it matter? That those are some of my thoughts, but yeah, I don't know. I've got more thoughts.
It doesn't help, I guess, that this has been a very leak-heavy year.
Right.
That we've had a lot of, not in terms of a leak that we're going to talk about later, but in terms of, the year started with, there's going to be a Paper Mario game, a Retro game, a Pikmin game all this year, and then when that Paper Mario thing happened, and it sort of brought things back, but also that then corroborated the rumours from before about these Mario remasters or re-releases that were happening, and this, all of that could just be not true, and it could be a coincidence that Paper Mario has been revealed. But because people are so sort of hungry, I guess, for news, it doesn't help that the hunger's being fed by leakers. Especially people that are just saying like they'll give like a vague direct date, and then that direct date will come true, but because people have hyped themselves up that it's going to be something else because of all these things that we know are happening. We know these Mario remasters are coming, so they're just going to show up at some point. So when a direct happens, we go, here we go, we're definitely going to see these Mario remasters, and then nothing happens.
And it does suck. I mean, I've said this kind of thing before, but it sucks that on Nintendo's behalf, it sucks that when we watch the inevitable direct theoretically that talks about the Mario remasters, it's not a big surprise that feels like fun and exciting. It's checking off a box of like, that's the thing I knew about. Cool.
And then we get the what's next, don't we? Then we get we knew that was happening. So what else? They might have an entire direct dedicated to that. People are going to go, oh, but we knew about that. So why is that exciting? But we didn't know about that. We just were told about that.
So I think here's the question that I'm curious mostly about too is what if you were Nintendo or whatever, and we don't know what they have planned, but like even not knowing what they have planned, like what do they do? What's their deadlines for? Again, like I said, October 15th, for example, is like that's too far.
Why have you picked October 15th? Why have you picked that down?
Oh, I just picked a random date. How close can we bring that in to where it's like this is kind of the last date before? I kind of feel like once we're getting into September, that's the holiday season. And like September onwards, even though normally the September Direct is like what they do, I feel like that's too late to announce all of these new things for the holiday itself. They could announce stuff for 2021 and tell us like, hey, sorry about 2020. Sorry about the second half of 2020. The first half had some stuff going on, but we've just, COVID hit us, blah, blah, blah. Second half was kind of a bust. Sorry about it. And it would suck, but like, it would make sense, to some degree. It wouldn't be great marketing, but it is what it is. But if they do have stuff for 2020, what's the roadmap to the best possible PR considering a kind of not the best situation?
So like how would they like just turn it around?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because of some of the sort of, I don't want to say marketing missteps to say that Nintendo have been messing up, but because of how the hype is and the hunger is right now, that every little thing gets extrapolated and expanded and turned pretty big. That I guess I think AJ said something recently about like it's impossible to announce a game in 2020.
Yeah.
For Nintendo, I mean, obviously it's only been able to do it. Xbox been able to do it, but for Nintendo, it's impossible for them to do anything because they do a tweet and it's like, why is this a tweet? Where's the direct? They do a direct. with all the stuff that they can talk about, because
Mm-hmm.
you know, these things can be released, and they go, well, where's all the stuff? So I think you'd have to, you know, if we're talking about turning it around, it would have to be okay, here's updates on all of these games that we have mentioned before, and also some new stuff. But like you say, with COVID going on right now, you don't want to then have a direct full of promises, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to have a direct that's like, yeah, okay, so here's Breath of the Wild 2, here's Metroid Prime 4, here's, give me another one. Bayonetta 3, don't worry.
Bayonetta 3.
Bayonetta 3, and they go, there's not much to talk about right now, but we've talked about it. People are just going to be like, well, hang on a minute. Why talk about it at all? Why even have the direct?
Right. Yeah.
And it's like people have been asking for the direct.
Honestly,
what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think like what you said. And also, I remember back to when Metroid Prime 4 was delayed. And
I often think back to that day in my nightmares.
But like, who was it that came out? I don't remember. Was it Tanabe? No, I don't know. Maybe it was Tanabe.
It was the guy who does this.
Splatoon?
No, it's not him. I'm thinking of someone else. No.
Nogami? Maybe.
I'm going to Google him.
I don't know. You can look it up. I'll talk about the thing. So
Mr.
Question Mark.
No, it's not Nogami.
So he walked out and said, here's the thing. So sorry about it. Metroid Prime 4 is getting delayed. And it was like just super well received that, you know, like at least you're forthright about it and stuff. And I think that was a great marketing, a great way to do something that sucked ultimately, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like something along those lines would help reset some of what's going on for this year, like a more forthright. I think it's probably hard for them to want to do that without knowing concretely what the future is, because even with Metroid Prime 4, they knew here's what happened, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't retro before, it was, you know, whatever, and then now it's retro and that's the future. Whereas with now, they still can't make any promises. So it's hard to come back, like in a real life situation, if, you know, somebody's mad because I haven't replied to one of their emails or something like that, or kept in contact with them. Well, I can't really very easily go up to them and be like, hey, here's the thing. I'm so sorry I haven't been in touch very well. I'm going to be better at being in touch, unless I know that I'm actually going to be better at being in touch. I'm not good at, by the way.
Because all you can really do is make another promise, right?
Yeah, right.
And if you're not sure you can make that promise, is it worse to instead say, look, guys, we don't know, or is it worse to say, well, here, you know, we're going to try and do this, and we don't hit it, you're just going to get a backlash, right? Yeah. So best to maybe just stay silent.
Yeah.
However, it just sometimes I have the question of, if E3 wasn't cancelled, was Nintendo just going to not show up?
Yeah.
Because
I feel like I feel like there must have been stuff that would have been at E3. Maybe it would have been not a very good E3, but
yeah,
I feel
like 2015. I wonder if Nintendo maybe like when the E3 was cancelled, almost like breathed a sigh of relief of like, good, because we really, you know, due to COVID, which I understand. Like I said about the working from home thing, they've probably just had to rejig the entire year in some way. And it might even be the case that these Mario remasters, we don't see them this year, and they missed the 35th anniversary. Yeah. Because the toy production maybe can still go ahead, and the board game production can go ahead, and the Lego production can go ahead, blah, blah, blah. But the games that are being developed in Japan by Nintendo, who have had to very quickly adapt to a working from home environment, they can't just log into Amazon, AWS, and use Google Teams or whatever, or Microsoft Teams, and just immediately start working in the cloud, right? They don't have that. So it's just tough. Shinya Takahashi, by the way.
Takahashi, thank you, man. I don't know. So I'm with all of this, I'm kind of thinking in the perspective of, you know, like if Nintendo were to come to me and be like, hey, as a Nintendo fan, what do you need from us? Or what do you think the community needs from us to like be back on top? Which like, they don't owe us anything realistically, you know, like, so I'm not even complaining. I understand that some people are. It's just, I always like thinking strategically and from, you know, this kind of perspective. So for me, I think if they could either come out and just say some kind of statement, because they do give the written statement of like things could change because of COVID, but that's very different tonally of like, FBI will find you if you do, you know what I mean? Like it's like stuff before a movie, as opposed to being like, hey, here's the thing. We understand, you know, even Microsoft recently came out with all the backlash for Halo last night. I think they were like, here's what's going on with it. And whether the people were justified to criticize it or not, them coming back with a response, I think was just a good move of goodwill, or good faith or something. So I think,
I've lost my thought now. I do. So I do think that they have in nuggets of information, hinted at like we're struggling, we've had to move stuff around, but there have also been quotes that people have then been banding around like everything is on track for this year still. Don't you worry, guys. Which could, like, I think it was you that said this could very much be interpreted as everything we've announced right now. It's looking like is the case, because there's also a bit in the same quote. I can't remember who posted it on Twitter, but someone was like, why don't you read the full thing? So focus on the quote, read the whole statement where they say we're also struggling a lot, essentially. I think I am someone who can very easily look at when someone criticizes Nintendo and go, that's not fair. Like, you have to sort of have maybe a deeper understanding of why they're doing that, or what their fan base likes, or what sells, or why they're doing a certain thing. But I'm also very critical of when they do something that I then can't in my head justify and go, well, obviously they're doing it for that reason. And like having no clear trajectory for the rest of the year, where other companies do have a clear trajectory, especially in a year that's so important for Nintendo, because they're now competing against new hardware.
Right.
But then again, there's also the side that the Switch is selling so well due to Animal Crossing and people being in lockdown, that to Nintendo and their investors, we're still selling, so why are we going to put the extra effort in? And we, as the vocal fan base, are going, where's all the games? And they're going, the 4 million people just bought a Switch and they've got all these games to play. We don't need to announce anything new. We don't have to stress over anything new. They've got Animal Crossing to play. They've got Breath of the Wild to play. They've got all of these games to go back and play, but we can just live off that for a bit and not have to stress and worry because of COVID, because we're still going to hit our numbers. And, Nintendo are a business. They're going to hit their numbers, and they're probably faster.
Honestly, I think that's a great point. And all they really need to do, in my opinion, is because the first couple years, they got core gamers in, just like that was not all core gamers, like there's PS4 fans and or like PlayStation and Xbox fans or whatever, and PC fans that are core gamers, but on those platforms, not a Nintendo fan.
They got the Nintendo core.
Yes, exactly. So they got them back in and then continued to do that over the next couple of years. And then this year's been pretty casual heavy as far as Animal Crossing, Clubhouse games or whatever. And if they're doing the Mario 35-year anniversary stuff, like core gamers will play that. But that's largely going to appeal additionally more to casual gamers. And all that's great. Nothing wrong with any of that. I think all they need to do is just show a path forward for, like, if you're a core gamer on the Switch, there's going to be stuff for you. Like, there's a future for you as a core gamer on the Switch, not just for the Switch as a platform. Because it's kind of like the reverse Wii, where the Wii, other than Twilight Princess at the beginning, was just like, here's, like casual games galore. Maybe not at the beginning. It was like 2008 that, all the Wii.
When the Wii was like, when it took off and everyone was like, we need to get a game on this immediately. Pick a license out the air quickly.
So, at that point, but then towards the end, there was like Xenoblade and, the last story and stuff like that.
Happened, all this sort of, big stuff started happening.
But at that point, the core gamers had kind of fallen off because there wasn't hope for them. So they're quote unquote. So I think that's the thing. It would be great to have a direct or announcements or whatever. But I think for me, as far as like redeeming the second half of 2020, and I still think Getter games coming out the second half, it's entirely possible that there's not, but I would suspect.
I have a feeling that there's not. I have a feeling that, only based on what we have, because we can speculate what we want and we can say we've heard this, we've heard that, but all we can really say is what we know. And right now we know that we have nothing announced. Nintendo is struggling clearly. Maybe we just don't get anything because their numbers, and we're going to find out the numbers this week or next week. The investors, if they were worried about investors dropping off or money being an issue, they would have come out and said, look, guys, just so you know, this is all happening. So the investors then go, cool. But if their figures are still fine and the investors are going to stick by them, that's fine. I'm going to jump back to what you said about core gamers, because AJ would hate if I said this. So, and he's not here, so I can say what I want.
AJ.
Nintendo, there's a lot of Nintendo games. They don't have to. appeal to me specifically. Animal Crossing didn't appeal to me when it first came out, or before it announced even, or first came out. I then went on to enjoy it because I tried it. There are a lot of Nintendo games that don't appeal to me. Mario Maker didn't appeal to me. The 2D Marios don't appeal to me. Yoshi's Crafted World didn't appeal to me. There are probably more I could name. There are a bunch of Nintendo games that don't appeal to me personally, and that's fine. I'm one of a spectrum of people that like Nintendo. So there are people that go, oh, Nintendo has nothing for this year because it means that they don't have anything for them, right? If you're a Zelda fan, for example, you're going to look at this year of the Switch and go, there's nothing for me here because there's no, annual Zelda release or a remaster or something like that. But there has been Animal Crossing, which was huge, and there's been Xenoblade, which was going to appeal to those fans, and there was what's the Shin Megami Tensei Fire Emblem game? Something F sharp.
Yeah, Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions. That's going to appeal to someone, right? Clubhouse Games is going to appeal to someone, just not me specifically. However, you're, there's a target audience right there. However, the difference with the conversation that's happening now is that the rest of the year for the Switch doesn't just not appeal to me, doesn't just not appeal to you, doesn't just not appeal to the Zelda fan. It appeals to nobody because there's nothing, right? So it's not like I can go, there'll be other things happening because they're just releasing stuff that's not for me right now. The question is, they're not releasing anything.
Right. I think that's, I can't imagine that they'd go through this holiday season without a single release. It's possible, but I doubt it. But I think that's right now the target audience for the holiday season is just people who haven't bought a Switch yet, and that's it, or want a second Switch or something, which is fine, but that's not any of us, obviously, that are already talking about this. So I think that's valid, I
think every year the thing has been for holiday season, this is, or Christmas season, whatever as we call it. We don't have two holidays at the same time. We need to blanket it with one holiday season. It's Christmas for us. Every year that has been a case of people that haven't bought a Switch should buy a Switch, right? Smash Brothers appeals to people, people will buy a Switch, just play Smash Brothers, only ever want Smash Brothers news, only ever want to play and talk about Smash Brothers, right?
Mario Odyssey the year before that.
Odyssey the year before that. Pokemon last year, because there are people that just want to play Pokemon. Whereas this year, if the case is still going to be this holiday, we want to sell to people that don't have a Switch, they might only need to think, okay, they're no longer releasing Xbox One games, they're no longer releasing PS4 games. Everything's going to be PS5, Xbox Series X. People aren't going to jump on that straight away because early adopters are in the minority. People probably want to buy something. They haven't bought a Switch yet. We have this huge backlog to go through. Like I said before, how they're careering through this year based on that. They might not. We as gamers go, we need to have a holiday game. They need to have a holiday game. What are we going to play? What am I going to ask for Christmas? My Christmas list is empty. But there are going to be people whose Christmas list is going to be a Switch.
A
list of games they haven't played yet. And Nintendo's fine with that because at the end of the day, it's their
This is a super easy year too to make Switch bundles or to lessen the price or whatever, because
they're not going to do that.
But they might do, like buy a Switch, get one full price game free or something, which would be the first time that they did that outside of, just getting Mario Kart free or just getting this other game or something like that. So we do have a Q&A that I went ahead and pulled up for this because it's related. So it's Falcon asks, it's a couple different parts. So here we go. How do you feel about the way Nintendo has been keeping their customers informed? Do you think we could have another 2015 games drought? And then goes on to say, if I can make a prediction, we'll get some sort of announcement / showcase for games that are coming out, quote unquote, this year. And by that, I mean March 31st, because Nintendo got a Nintendo. I don't know what we'll see, but we won't see a new F-Zero game. Falcon loves F-Zero. Also, I feel like there's another Switch revision in the works for next summer, but they won't talk about that here. They may have a new bundle for this holiday, though. Also, we're going to get a port of something soon. Just don't know what. # Falcons Fanatic Speculation Corner. Good stuff.
There's also a second section of the document just called F-Zero Kid.
Yeah, because it is.
There's a lot of questions happening.
We've got so many questions, y'all. It'll be good. I mean, we literally only have 2 news-ish topics, so...
okay. Oh, I think the F-Zero Kid thing is just because it's capitalized. It's not just a whole section of questions from Falcon.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's break this down. How do you feel about Nintendo keeping the customers informed? I think that there's been some missteps. Like I said, not major mistakes. A lot of it has been overhype, but I think that I said this last time I was on. There's so much power behind the phrase Nintendo Direct. People expect so much because Nintendo has given us so much in a Direct that people see the word Direct and they think, here we go, boys. They're going to release some big stuff. And even when they put the word mini in front of it or partner showcase after it, we still have that. It's a Direct. There's got to be one big thing. There's always one big thing. So when there's not one big thing, it can be disappointing. But
or when the one big thing is big for a kind of small segment of the overall Switch fan base, and it's like, you know, I mean, because I'm sure they've seen people asking for Shin Megami Tensei 5 news for forever, but you know,
1,000 days. It was 1,000 days between the last trailer and the new trailer. Ridiculous.
It's crazy. Yeah, I think that. Oh, what was I going to say? I don't know. Some that kind of stuff. Where
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're. I mean, I was just going to piggyback off what you said as far as like keeping customers informed and stuff. It's there's definitely been.
I mean, I feel like that, like you said, that what AJ said about, you know, you can't reveal a game in 2020, and I feel like the whole Bakugan thing, they knew that by, you know, having the first event since you know, the first E3 style event, having Mario as like a and then having like a special announcement from a developer that you all like. I know that people jumped out of you know, were like me, like, oh, it could be Metroid, could be Castlevania, could be this, that, and the other. But setting an expectation, even leveling out the expectation, didn't quite level out the expectation, because it was like it wasn't like a, hey guys, hold on. It was like this is going to be a third party thing, by the way, so stop thinking about first party, which still left like a wide variety of things.
It was funny watching Game Explains. I was hopped into their stream for a little bit before it got announced, and I was watching their speculations on like, what could they be working with? And there it was like all the way up here, and it was Bakugan. I remember this thing I was going to say before too. Definitely one of the things that Nintendo seemed to be doing this summer that maybe they would have been doing anyway, thinking back to other years, but I don't think so, is a lot of like demos and tournaments for their online games.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Which I think is, I'm only speculating, but it would be better if I weren't speculating and they said so, is kind of replacement of like, we don't have a lot going on. So here's these demos and these tournaments and stuff for Pokken and ARMS and Splatoon and all that kind of stuff.
The old thing.
The
old thing.
Which is fine, but I think it reminds me of the Simpsons episode where Marge this is the game that every boy wants, or whatever, and it's what's his face is golf, you know, instead of whatever the game is called, the brawl, you know, the fighting game.
Bone
Smasher or
Bone Smasher,
something like that. Yeah. So, but it reminds me of that. But like, even imagining myself in Bart's shoes there, if Marge had been like, I couldn't find Bone ? Game, but here's golf because I knew you wanted something, I think he'd be like, okay, I get that. And so similarly with Nintendo, I kind of feel like if this is a replacement for like, we don't have a lot of news, here's at least something, it would be a little bit better PR to be like, we don't have other things, but here's this just so you have something, and people will be like, okay, well, that's nice of you to at least give that. However, I also understand the side that investors would hear that as, oh, they don't have anything, you know? They want to keep investors happy. And that's honestly why it's so hard for them to communicate, I think, is the
silence is what keeps the money in there, right? Because there's a whole thing of like, what if I put out my money and then they announce something, or, you know, I'm not saying they're misleading or anything like that. But
no, I think they're in a tricky situation. Like, there's no denying that their production is down. I think if they're fully honest, that's going to hurt them financially for those reasons and all that stuff. So
and like you said about all these old demos and stuff, it is, like I said before, there are thousands or millions and millions of new Switch owners that Animal Crossing and Lockdown brought in that maybe might want to pick up ARMS or might want to pick up Mario Tennis or Pokken, and might be actually like, well, I don't know if there's an online community. I don't know if the game's very good. So by saying, play this game for free for a bit, or try out this demo, or you know, things like that, they can see, okay, there is a community. There are people playing it. If I buy this game, there's value in it. Which I know that a lot of Nintendo games, sometimes you can get the online game, and because how Nintendo fans are and how Nintendo releases new versions of new games, ARMS might be dead, for example, and it's like, why would I buy ARMS if it's dead? Whereas if they can revitalize it a bit, then that's fine. Although never with Splatoon. I remember that just before Splatoon 2 came out, I was still getting into games on Splatoon on the Wii U, like seconds. There were just games happening all the time.
And speaking of Wii U, so the second part of Falcon's question was, do you think this would be another 2015 games draft. I don't know. Well, let's look at 2015.
So I remember E3 2015 pretty vividly because I remember like being. So I watched the direct at home, rang my friend and was like, "Come pick me up. Let's go to the pub," because I had seen the preamble before where they did like a tournament, and I was like, "This looks like Metroid Prime Hunters, man. But what if this is like a mode in Metroid Prime Hunters?" And I was right, but it was Metroid Prime Federation Force, and I was like, "Oh, that was it." And coming off of 2014, which had Bayonetta 2, Splatoon was announced. There was a Kirby or a Yoshi or something. I think it was a Yoshi.
Yeah.
Loads of good stuff was happening. And I was like, this was a great year. And then 2015 happened, and I was like, oh boy, I'm a Wii U owner.
Yeah.
I am a Wii U
So it
owner.
looks like I mean, not all of these are Splatoon 2, or sorry, Splatoon, Super Mario Maker, Yoshi's Woolly World,
So it was actually quite a good
Mario
year.
Tennis Ultra Smash.
Maybe not.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, so that's pretty. I mean, two of those are pretty high caliber, but I think again,
Splatoon carried me through 2015. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but if
Xenoblade Chronicles X was 2015.
Oh, why is that not on this list? Oh well, whatever.
List is lying to you.
It is. It's not like
December,
yeah. So all that to say, I don't know that it'll be specifically. Again, the fact that we already had. I think it's a question of second half versus first half. First half, I think, was better than people are giving it credit for because of just the feeling of not knowing what's coming out in the second half. And then the second half, we have yet to see. But
yeah, I guess it's easy to look at what's coming and go, this year's been crap. But you can also, oh, that's not a swear, is it? That's okay, right?
No, that's fine, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, they said on The Simpsons, so it's fine. And they said on Friends as well.
That's a good metric, actually.
That is a good. If it's on The Simpsons or it's on Friends, fine to say, oh, yeah, Friends is fine.
Yeah, Friends is fine.
They used to play that in the.
It's on Rick and Morty, no worries,
Yeah, well, no, yeah, I can't go for Rick and Morty, man. But when you look at like, if you condensed every release from the first half into like, let's say it all came out in month after month after month, like last year happened. You go Tokyo Mirage Sessions into nothing, into Animal Crossing, into Xenoblade Chronicles. And you go like, this was a good year because these are great games. These are high sellers, not Xenoblade Chronicles or Tokyo. Okay, there's one high seller, but that dominated the conversation for so long and still is played by loads of people and it's still getting new content. And it is a successful game, but people might look at that and burn through it so quickly, like I did. I know I played for 150 hours and was like, cool, I'm going to move on to something else. Never went back to it. Fine. I finished my island, did what I wanted to do. I enjoyed it. There are people that I know who play 400, 500 hours of Animal Crossing games over the course of a lifetime, or, the lifetime of the console. So for those kind of people, this year's been great because, they've had, if someone like me that had a week of holiday when Xenoblade Chronicles just after it came out, so I was like, I'm in lockdown, I'm not going to cancel my holiday, I will just do the whole of Xenoblade Chronicles. I did 100 hours in like a week and a bit, maybe 2 weeks, and I smashed through it. If I was at work, going into the office like I normally would, or if you're someone that maybe only games like an hour a day, a couple of hours a week or whatever, that's a lot of game, a lot of content, a lot of game to play.
I think it is funny with the Animal Crossing thing. I've sort of said this before, but not super in deep, whatever. I wonder if Animal Crossing was great for quarantine, but quarantine was not great for Animal Crossing for the specific reason that it just got condensed so much that you could play so much in so little time that, I think really if it weren't for all of that, there's a good chance. Also, the fact that now they're doing the slow rollout of content, which is good in some ways, but it also means that like maybe if it were just all there at launch, it would have lasted us longer instead of like some people are just not coming back to it. Whereas some others that are still sticking around are like really excited, every time.
Yeah.
So
I had a thought.
Is Ella still playing it at all?
Not particularly. So Ella's thing was
Ashley's the same, like a little bit.
Well, so Ella's thing is that all of the Animal Crossing games that came out before, it was her, maybe her sister were playing together and just playing, and that was it. And she'd go back to it all the time. But when this one came out, because I was playing it and I'm quite vocal, and I had a bunch of friends that were playing it, and we were all sort of comparing and contrasting where we were. And we were like, have you done this yet? Have you been here yet? Have you done this? Oh my God, you haven't done that yet. You need to get there, blah, blah, blah. She felt like the pressure to do it.
Interesting, yeah.
So she just didn't want to play it because she was like, well, I'm never going to be as good as that. And I had the feeling when I visited a friend's island, he was like, come to my island. I was like, okay, then. Visited his island, and this is like within the second week, and he'd like laid out all of the flowers so that he would get all the flowers, and all of the trees were perfectly laid out, and he sort of min-maxed the game where it was all running smoothly. It was all running as well as it could do. And I was like, this is not fun anymore. Because now I know what I need to do to be successful. It's not like I can just work things out. I now have been to this island where everything works perfectly fine and I can make the most money. And I was like, now it stops being fun. And these people then dropped off after a week because they didn't have the challenge, nothing to overcome. They finished it. Right?
Or like time travel and stuff and just get everything. I want to see every single thing.
Yeah.
So,
however, I do think this Animal Crossing, this is only based on what I know of Animal Crossing and what people have said to me personally, said online, blah, blah, blah. This game, when it was sort of in the pre-announcement, people were like, oh my God, there's all this stuff. You can jump over gaps and they've added all this terraforming stuff and that's great. But when the game actually came out and now these updates we're getting, it seems to have been at the sacrifice of some other features that people liked.
I mean, like swimming, for example, and like those kinds of things that they're adding back. I'd guess everything will get added back. All the things that people liked will get added back, but it's just going to be over time. And that means that this will, I would say pretty easily without having played any of the other ones, that this will be the best Animal Crossing game to buy when you're not playing it at launch, and maybe also for you, the best one at launch. I mean, again, I don't know because it's the only one that I've played, but for a lot of people, when you're not comparing to other people and you're just playing it at your own pace or whatever, it'll be great for all those reasons and all the updates will be there. But yeah, at launch is definitely a trickier thing.
I wonder if it was almost to the game's detriment that they obviously had this plan for the game, like you say about how lockdown wasn't good for it, because they had all these plans, all this content. They were like, cool, we're releasing with this, and by the time people are sort of done with this, the new content starts coming out. By the time they're done with that, we'll have something new. But because it was in lockdown, people had nothing to do. They could, me personally, just sit there 10 hours a day, which sounds.
And they got to have like 3 weeks between the time that they. Like it shortened the gap to where instead of them releasing an update to where people would have like still been playing it, people had stopped, and then an update happened. It's like, I don't know.
Then at that point, is it worth logging back in and having to deal with all the stuff now that your island's been left alone for ages to do it? And for me personally, I got to the point where I paid off all my loans. And the stalk market on Twitter, I think the stalk market on Twitter was also
it ruined some stuff.
We were able to get because like the stalk market is supposed to be, you get your stuff, you make your money. Okay, I've lost some money, I've made some money, but because people were like, I know 100% that I can make this much money if I'm just patient, so I'll spend all this money and I'll pay off all my loans. I paid off all my loans in 100 hours, and I made
once you get one good, I saw somebody say it on Twitter or something at one point, but like once you get one really good stock market thing, it breaks the economy, and like that kind of sucks. But you know what else breaks the economy? When you leak some games from 1996, it's just breaking it. It makes everything mess up. We're gonna move along because we're gonna move on. There was a Gigaleak, as we're calling it.
Gigaleak is true. It's a good word.
Yeah, it's so man, it's very interesting. All this stuff. I haven't even looked at all the individual things. We're not going to go over the individual things that are getting announced, but just kind of like talk about it in general. Also, Mecha Dragon 101 and Nintendo Mouse from My Nintendo News. Richard, I talked to him for the first time today. I was like, I don't know how we haven't talked before, but you want to come on the podcast sometime? He's great. He was like, yeah, we'll do it. So he'll be on at some point, I think.
Cool.
But so they both mentioned we should talk about this, and we were going to anyway, so it worked out wonderfully.
Yeah, this is an interesting story because it's not something I've been following. Like, I need to know what's happening, but every time something comes out, I'm like, this is wild. This is crazy. I've been seeing it from sort of two perspectives, though. I've been seeing like the whole, all this stuff that we didn't know about and now we know about, but also the side of like, we didn't, we're now knowing about this at the detriment of someone has illegally taken this information. It's got information that should have been cut out. It's not fair on the developers who have had their work put on blast, and some of it includes personal information.
Oh, okay. Like I was going to ask about, other than the personal information, in what way have you seen, because I just don't know, that people have had stuff put on blast or anything?
It's pretty much, the personal information. Also, the Star Fox, some of the Star Fox passwords or something were sort of like swear words or things like that.
Oh, gotcha.
It just seems a little bit like it's all private stuff that was kept by Nintendo. You know, it's not like a GDC conference where they go, here's the making of Breath of the Wild, here's the stuff from the cutting room floor. It's like, this is stuff that wasn't meant to be seen because it just got dropped. And it's not in like a, we evolved in this way. It's just like, this just got dropped. Like, it's interesting that Luigi was going to be in the game. It's interesting that there's all these cut characters. But this is, you know, this isn't, some bits of information are interesting. Some of it's just like, this is just cut stuff. This is just cutting room stuff. This is just unfinished bits. Like all of the beta Pokemon stuff. It's like, you know, it's not beta. It's just a placeholder. They were working on the game, and that's that.
It's interesting with this because I mean, I think in large part what we need to maybe be aware of is that it's, again, a lot of this stuff is interesting and like stuff, but we're also not owed it, you know, in the same way. And I'm thinking of it, and that sort of feels weird to say because in part of me is kind of like, yeah, we are, like, we're, you know, it's part of the game, blah, 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 but it's not. But thinking of it from a creator's perspective instead of a consumer's perspective is like, as a songwriter, or as a, you know, video producer or whatever, that feels, I don't like that title. That feels much too fancy. I make some YouTube videos. I'm not a video producer. But as somebody who makes YouTube videos or writes songs or whatever, if somebody found lyrics of mine that I wrote that I didn't publish, even though they're lyrics that I write, and even if they're the biggest fan of mine ever or whatever, I wouldn't like that because the reason I didn't publish them is because I'm not proud of them because they're just garbage. And I feel like you would think less of me as a creator seeing those, you know, like sometimes people will share demos to songs or like the scratch tracks. Like, this is, you know, when I first wrote it, this is kind of the voice memo.
Lost version. Or...
And like, some people are like, wow, I can see how that got from here to there. And for other people, it kind of ruins the process. Cause it's like, oh, it started out as kind of bad. You know?
It's like when Kanye West released Life of Pablo and then like patched it like a couple of weeks later. And so he like re-released the album, changes, moved some songs around, added a new song in eventually. But I've become so used to the original version. All of a sudden the video came out, and I was like, they've changed this. I'm singing it. I'm singing it in my head, and then like something's different. I'm like, oh, okay, well this isn't as good. They've added like a weird noise over it. I'm like, this isn't the same song.
Yeah.
And it's like, if they just released the original, or if they'd released the final version of the song.
That would be your way to, exactly.
That would be the way for it, right? But now I can't unhear the original version. And there's also like, so there's a song.
I've got albums like that for sure.
yeah. This is not a tangent. There's a song that was added to the end of Pablo called something. Can't remember what it was. It had oh my god, I can't remember the guy's name. It was the final song. It was a nice song. And then I really got used to that. It like leaked as like, this is the original version of the song. Downloaded it, saved it. And then when the actual album version came out, I was like, this is a very different song. I've been enjoying an unfinished song. Now I don't enjoy the new song. It's sort of ruined both of them for me.
Yeah.
It could be the same
Yeah. I mean, so I think similarly, I could see how, even if this isn't actually detrimental, I mean, well, the content itself, obviously the personal information, like that's bad. The content of like seeing what would have been in Mario and stuff isn't really necessarily detrimental to Nintendo, but the precedent that it sets for like kind of when you popularize, I mean, people are always going to hack and leak and stuff, but when you popularize it, it also, or make people more aware of it or show, here's the possibilities that if you do this, you'll get credit for it, or not even credit, but like, that's the thing that I did, even if nobody knows who it is. That's kind of dangerous, knowing that that's out there, that like, if you can find some of these things, it could incentivize some of that. But then, I don't know. It's also, some of the stuff really is interesting. And what I'd much rather, and maybe the way that Nintendo can, I don't know, maybe go about this, is do some of the, like with the Champions Guide or something like that for Breath of the Wild, is like, they could probably own it pretty easily by being like, by just sharing some of these kinds of things of like, we originally planned on doing this, but again, coming back around to thinking of it as a creator's perspective, so often Nintendo is like, here's an idea that got scrapped from this game. We're going to use it to make this other thing. So they probably have a lot of back pocket ideas like that like, so it's tricky. Nevertheless, there's some interesting tidbits.
Also, like, I think the most interesting bit is playable Luigi. Like, we know it was confirmed that Luigi at one point was playable, but seeing the model and seeing sort of how it all came together is quite interesting. Watching people like take the individual parts, build it together and go, this is Luigi in Mario 64. That's cool. there is some stuff that's just like, okay, this is fine.
Yeah.
But I think I've seen some people say like, oh, this is great for preservation. This is great for, video game cataloging, blah, blah. And
I don't know that it is.
Yes, on the outside, it sort of seems that way. But really, it's not, because hacking into a server and taking an old file, which fair play to them for keeping it, to be fair, because there are like, do you remember when Final Fantasy VIII, they were like, we lost the source code, we can never make that again. And Nintendo's like, we've got all the source codes and all of the stuff that, was kept secret, and now you can just, comb through it. But it does set, like you say, it sets a dangerous precedent for people to be like, well, I'm going to see what I can find, I'm going to dig in deeper, and eventually you're just stealing information from a company, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the plot to Tron 2, right? This is the Tron Legacy. This is where he goes back into his dad's.
They're making a third one, right?
I'm pretty sure. I hope so. Oh, is that okay?
Good. No, yeah, that's fine. I didn't even. It sounded like some garbled sounds. So
yeah, I hope so. I really hope so.
I thought I saw something about that.
I saw something. I retweeted it. Then I 2 tweets down saw like someone go, "This is old news." I was like, I'm going to ignore that tweet. I'm going to decipher for it anyway.
Valid. I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hang on, there's a bit in this article you've linked here.
I have.
Where it says why the Gigaleak is bad for Nintendo.
Yep.
And let me just quickly scroll through.
Here, I'll read it a little bit. Why the Gigaleak is bad for Nintendo. Developers spend years working on source code for games. It's a lengthy process that involves hours upon hours of dedication, reworking, and sometimes starting from scratch. With the release of so many source codes online, some developers like Dylan Cuthbert, who worked on a few Star Fox titles, felt the leak was intrusive considering how private that content is. In addition to the source code, several early models, emails, and personal information may have been leaked onto the internet with the compilation. And it goes on to say, what's also worrisome is Nintendo's lack of cybersecurity. This leak may be the biggest dump of potentially illegally obtained information in gaming history. Additionally, there have been several leaks over the past year, along with Nintendo's ongoing issues with hackers. This data breach means Nintendo could be potentially vulnerable to more attacks in the future, which could compromise players' account information. In a worst-case scenario, someone might find their games inaccessible due to a hack, or even worse, have their personal information stolen. And finishes up by saying, having a full source code of older titles gives independent developers and modders an endless supply of content to toy with. The Nintendo Gigaleak means custom ROMs and games can now be made using those files, but using that specific code could put a lot of these modders in legal trouble with Nintendo. While gamers would love to see some extra Super Mario 64 content, it might not be worth having their favorite modder sent to jail.
And I guess a point from that is that now this has happened, Nintendo are probably going to clamp down not just on security, good, they should, but also they might clamp down on sharing bits of information, because the reason people were probably looking for this is because of things like, there's some secrets in Super Mario you didn't know about, because they mentioned it before. Maybe people wouldn't be so interested in hacking into the servers and putting out this old information, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Nintendo's really, campy, you can't... Really, I don't know.
I know what you mean, like
whatever. They clamp down on information as far as like when She Says did or Boundary Break or whatever did his Animal Crossing video, it got flagged by Nintendo. And like, and I understand that. I don't know, it's a tricky situation, because like really the way like those videos are made with a lot of love, where it's just like, here's like, you might have not known, but they make these trees look so full, but there's only the fronts of trees. Really, the backs are just empty, but they look great, and like in Nintendo's view, that could, I don't know, I could imagine being in their shoes again as like a songwriter or something like that, of like, oh, well, that makes you think poorly of what I've done, like it gives the wrong view of it, which like, because like, I don't know, I'll listen to, I've been watching a bunch of videos where they'll, strip out some, or like an artist will like solo tracks of their songs. And I'm used to hearing these tracks and it sounds like perfect and flawless all together. And then they'll solo the track and I'm like, oh, there's a lot of little mistakes in that, but you just can't hear it. But they're fine sharing that. But if you're not fine sharing that, that can be really vulnerable and stuff.
It's like the Wizard of Oz, right? The game that we see...
No, you can just stop there. It's just like the Wizard of Oz. Moving on.
The game that we play is the big, the Wizard of Oz.
Right.
Here. We're playing that game. We're going, wow, what a spectacle. And then some of these people might be like Toto, playing on the curtain. And actually Nintendo are like, no, this is all string. This is all cardboard back here. Stop it. No, we're being held up by twigs. And then when you pull the curtain back, there's actually, things being run by one man pulling a bunch of strings, going, this is a boss fight.
Totally ruined the Wizard of Oz. Spoiled all of it. Oh my goodness! It's only 90 years old.
Film, yeah.
How old is it?
It's old, isn't it? I think it's like 30s, 2030, something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's 30s. There is a
1939. Yeah, that's what I don't know why I thought that number already. Oh, I'm very smart.
Look at you. Oh. There's a interesting, like with Boundary Break, it's interesting to see how things are made because it's not at the detriment of anything, I guess. Like you say that it might be like, oh, this is how it's made, but it's not like they've gone, I broke into the source code and found all these things and all this stuff. It's just a case of like, I moved the camera around and look how cool this is. Look at the way Nintendo overcame this struggle.
Yes, right, exactly.
It's not like Nintendo actually cut this whole thing out of the game out, and now we're looking at it from an unfinished perspective and going, oh, hang on a minute, that looks a bit rubbish.
Yeah. No, I think that's, the end product is the real thing. And like seeing as a developer, it's neat to see those things. And like, again, thinking in a music context, you can use like certain kinds of compression or something, or like EQ to take out this whole range of frequencies that's like useless in this one instrument so that everything else will shine better and stuff like that. And that's the same kind of thing as they did with the trees. They took out the back because it's like, that's useless garbage. Like we could make a full tree, but it's going to slow down other things. So we're going to make it as efficient as possible. So
it's like that gif of Horizon Zero Dawn where you see like the developer showed at GDC where they're like, wherever you're looking, they load in that wedge, that field of view wedge. And then as you move around, they just, what's the word? Not deload. Whatever the word deload is, they deload all the bits.
I would say deload.
Either side, I would say too. We both say deload. And then they just show you the more bits, right? And that's cool. That's how that game is made. That's how that game runs and looks as good as it does. That's how a lot of games function in the same way. Things pop in, things pop out. And it's cool that to see the tricks of like, oh, this is how they overcame that struggle. This is how, when you see the Xenoblade one, it's like, have you seen the Xenoblade Boundary Break?
I don't think so.
So there's a bit where like he's in the Gower plane, for example, and he'll go, right, I'm putting the camera out. There's a fully modelled, this is actually attached to the leg of a fully modelled Bionis in low res so that you can see the Bionis at all times. And that will help with the immersion. Yeah. Okay. And if you pull away and you go over here, here's the Mechonis. It's actually there. It's not a backdrop. That's cool. Yeah. But like, here's all the beta sprites for Pokemon. It's just like, they had to do this, obviously.
Yeah. So that's the Gigaleak stuff. We probably could say more about it, but we're going to say more about other things instead. So
we're going to skip quickly on.
Let's do it. We're going to talk for a little bit now about, comments on my video, but then also on Twitter, we asked this question and we polled some places. And this is digital versus physical.
I thought this was going to be the bit we just did was going to be the longest bit, but now I realize what this is.
Oh, I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm worried. We're going to try to not. It's a very interesting topic. And we're going to, I think here's what we should do. We'll read comments, but we probably won't talk about the comments. Oh, I mean, we're going to do the whole thing, but we're just probably not going to like delve into each of the comments like we kind of normally would, because it's also just going to be a bigger thing. So in any case, here we go. I made a video. Physical versus digital Switch games. Obviously, if you watched it, we came to the consensus that it kind of depends. Isn't that great? There's
what a
how typical of a Parker thing. I never land on. I would Parker, have a very hard time.
The Switzerland of fanatixfour. He's like, here's this definitive A or B answer, and you go, yeah, but it could be like ab.
Just stick them together, If you're looking for a consonant, you got a consonant. Okay. So here's some comments. I thought some of these were great. From the YouTube video, Seven said, even if I wanted to be a full digital owner, our internet infrastructure isn't quite there yet. Seven is in South Africa.
Yes.
If I buy a new game online, I have to wait at least a day or so for it to download. I've also mentioned this previously, but there's only one major game store in my area. So before the pandemic, I liked to make a day out of driving to the big mall, getting a nice coffee, maybe seeing a movie, and having my pre-order handed to me by someone who knows me really well, and also doesn't mind having a little chat if they're not too busy.
That's really nice.
I know. This is the most wholesome thing. The people who work at, and then continuing on. The people who work at the store usually tell me what they're currently playing and ask how far I am in the last game that I bought, how my mom's doing, etc. They're like my friends, so I'd feel bad not supporting them.
That is an absolutely lovely comment. I really like that. Because I remember the same thing where it'd be like, oh, today's payday. I'm going to walk into town,
Mm-hmm.
pick up some stuff, have lunch. It's just a really nice day. And especially when a new game comes out, it's like, it's an excuse to go and have a nice day as well as pick up the game, which for me, it's like, I get home from work and I go, oh, there's a package. And that's the entire game buying experience for me now. It's like, it's a day early. Wow. And I'll play it.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's definitely some stores that are better about that too. I think at this point, like, I'm very cost effective with things ideally, but that means that usually I'll end up getting games from like Walmart, which is not a fantastic experience. It's that I go to a store and there's games behind a glass case and I'm like, open that one for me, please. And they'll be like, all right, cool. And they open that
very
one.
much the Simpsons experience of buying a game, right?
100%. Yeah. And it's usually, it's not very often that it's somebody that's like, oh, you're trying to play Breath of the Wild, are you? It's somebody that's like, which games you gonna do?
Yeah.
Not really. They're very, but it's, somebody who works the electronics section, not necessarily just gaming. So sometimes they're really into it and other times they're like, I don't know, a Nintendo game, I guess.
Yeah.
So not to disparage Walmart employees, just
you should. You probably
it's
should.
Less
it's a big corporation, right?
It is a big corporation. They actually pay surprisingly. One of my youth group kids from when I was youth leader was worked at Walmart, and they pay like a good bit above minimum wage, which I was very surprised about because Walmart. So in any case, I think 7, that sounds like the best. I am envious of that.
So my experience of buying games in person used to be a case of just like, because I didn't sort of have a lot of money, didn't have a job till I was like 18. So the money I would get would be like cash for Christmas, or I would trade in my old games and get cash, and I'd peruse through the store, the pre-owned section, and see what was available. Or I remember one time I saw Metroid Prime Trilogy, didn't know the game was coming out. I wasn't, into the whole scene of like being online, and I saw this and was like, I ran home. So it was like a half an hour walk. So I ran home. Went home. I was like, Mum, can I have some money to go buy this game? And she was like, you sure? I was like, please. Gave the money. I ran back into town and I picked it up, and that was an exciting time. But now, sort of, if I'm not buying it online, I will pop into my local game store. My friend Scott works there. Hi, Scott. Usually, I will go in there just to sort of have a chat with him, have a catch up, see how he's doing. But usually, I don't like going into the stores because you go in, you get the game you want, and they go, "Would you like to pre-order?"
Yeah, right.
This game. How what have you got? What pre-orders have you got? Would you like to buy the disc care? Would you like this? And I'm like, no, man. And then, I'm looking at this big stack of games. I'm like, because I am someone who knows about all the games that are coming out. I'm never shocked by like, wow, this is on Switch. Usually it's a case of no, I know. If I know it, get it on launch, or I'll see it on the eShop and wait for it on sale. So I'm looking at these games that are all overpriced. Nothing's surprising me. Nothing's going. I'm not going, wow, I'm going to pick this up. It's just a case of, okay.
Yeah. That's definitely the case for me too. With like when the Switch first came out, I wasn't paying attention to stuff online. Wasn't really watching that many YouTube videos. Other than I was starting to, but like just wasn't a ton. And I would go to Target or Walmart or whatever, typically Target, and like Ashley would be like, you want to go to the Switch section? And be like, yeah. And so I just go over there and like look at all the games. Like, they've got this one, they've got that one. Wow, that's neat. But now, like, I'm fully aware of all of it. They're all full priced. So it's like, it's not much of an experience, which is, kind of lame.
Well, I guess that's the point of being an adult, isn't it? If we were 10 years old now, we'd probably walk into the game section and be like, oh my god,
I'm going to look at Mario Odyssey again.
I'm going to read the back of this game, which I used to do as a kid. I read the back of the game and go,
totally.
One day I'm going to play this game. I put it back. Whereas now I go, I'm going to play that game when it goes on sale. Or I've watched like loads of reviews, or you guys would have played it, or I'm on Twitter and everyone's talking about it. I'm like, I've had that experience. I've fawned over it before it came out. Now it's here. I'm not interested. I find the whole buying physical games in a shop is just not fun anymore.
So honestly for me, I'll go ahead and say my full opinions. Because I didn't really lean. I think what I said in the video is true. They're like, I'm kind of either or, but recently I have been mostly digital, and mostly because A, it's convenient, and B, pandemic, but also because I just have some money sitting in PayPal. So I was like, I've either got free money or money that's going to stop me from buying different kinds of groceries. So I'm like, I'll just opt for the free money. Whereas normally I would do physical for like first party, big budget game. I mean, like I said, for like single player games, and then digital for other stuff. Even now, pretty much buying most stuff digitally because again, it doesn't it feels like it doesn't cost money, even though it obviously does. So
some of that paper money's from me.
Yeah. So that said, like, that's kind of where I'm at recently, but I hope that changes when at some, I don't know. We'll just see.
I think when Nintendo releases another game that I'm interested in, I'll be like, I'm going to get this game physically. Because I don't want to jump in too far and do you know what, let's keep going, because I think what I'm going to say is probably going to be a point from later on. So
cool. Yeah. Okay, we'll keep going. Next one. This is, I tried to pull, honestly, this leaned way more physical. Like, I asked people's opinions and stuff, and then we did a Twitter poll, which we'll check in a second. People were way more physical than digital, which I was kind of surprised by.
That doesn't surprise me, because...
Just because of the community, or...
No, well, more because I went through the Wii U era. I did it so you didn't have to, Parker. I fought on your behalf.
Thank you.
Now, I know I'm the kind of person that brings up a lot of people's negativity, because I think it's funny to see how people say these things without any logical thinking behind it.
Right.
But I remember very, not venomously, but like people were very during the Wii U era, like all digital, because it was the first like console you could do that on Nintendo. I'm going all digital. Yep. Why would you buy physical games now? I'm going all digital. I can just have all my games there and then. And on Reddit, on the subreddit, everyone was like, physical, digital. And he was said, oh, I'm going all digital. It's like, I'm upvoting you because you're going all digital. Then the Switch came out, and there's just been a complete flip. Now everyone's going, physical games are best. I'm not buying a game if it doesn't release physically. I'm buying limited run games because they're physical. Yeah. And people are buying more indie games, but they're also trying to buy them physically. And it's just interesting how this
that's true. I think, maybe I was just anticipating it because I went the opposite direction, where I was mostly physical, and then now recently I'm mostly digital. And I've heard other people do the same kind of thing, but I think a lot of it is like content creators will also lean more digital because that's just how you get a lot of your codes anyway. And that's, like, it's most convenient to be able to like play it, to be able to have opinions and stuff. So that kind of thing. But as just like a fan, I mean, that makes sense. And also there's a lot of people make comments about like reselling games and stuff, which I just don't do and I don't care about. But I think the loaning thing is something that I do think about, where there's certain games that I would want to loan this way versus that way. And so that's, valid. But I'll go ahead and read this one in case we'll keep going. Kari Brandes says, I don't know why I said that so weird, but Kari Brandes said, I've been basically digital only since 2016. My PS4 had an issue where it would randomly spit out games midway through playing them. I do miss the collection aspect of physical games, but I love the ease of digital, especially as I travel a fair amount and also play in docked mode a fair bit. I wish it were normalized for physical games to be sold alongside a download code so consumers could have both. Is there a reason this isn't? I would personally maybe even spend a little extra on games. I really like to have both options.
This is the same sort of thing that Pete had. Pete from Looppots. Hi, Pete.
Yep.
You're not listening to this. Pete. I listen to your podcast. It's fine. I know that. He's going to comment on that if he does listen. So Pete had a thing where he was buying a lot of physical games. I can't remember what the game was. He said he got a game at midnight. He bought it and then was just like, oh, I think our pre-order got cancelled, or for whatever reason didn't turn up. So he just bought the game digitally and was like, why haven't I been doing this the whole time? Because I can just, once you become accustomed to the ease of buying a game digitally and just having it digitally on your Switch and not having to swap cartridges, you might have a fat SD card, so it doesn't matter about that. Once you're used to that, then, why would you go back to convenience? You get more money back from Nintendo for it, like gold coins. Why would you go back to what feels like an inconvenience of physical games if you're not a collector or you're not someone that likes to look at the game collection grow on the shelf? So I think once you start doing it, like with the PS4, if your PS4 forces you to start going digital, and then you go, well, I like this is just how I play games now. Why would I buy physical games?
Yeah, it's just easy to kind of keep going on that path. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think that's whatever you start makes sense that you would keep going, because also like having a physical, I don't have a great place that I like displaying my games. I'm not going to put them in my video background because I don't have enough games to do it. B, it's kind of like very typical YouTuber kind of thing. And like, I'd rather just do something different anyway.
It'd also be a bit pathetic if you had like the 6 games behind you.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. Just got like stacks and stacks and stacks.
Because they've been collecting games. They've been playing for years. And I'm like, I've got this GameCube collection of games that I bought off of a friend in one fell swoop. I've got some PAL N64 games randomly. And so like,
Is that from when you were in Europe?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I don't know. Are they PAL or is it
PAL? Yeah, Europe and Australia are PAL, I think.
Okay. But yeah, so I've got a PAL N64 and GameCube and some game, like very few games, because I just didn't have that many games for both of them, but can't do anything with them here. So
no, yeah.
It's lame. I tried to look up converters and stuff, and like you can do a transformer to make the thing work, but it's not going to convert with the TV. And it's just,
right, yeah. It's a bit of a ball ache, isn't it?
Yep. But so, in any case, moving along, this one is similar kind of angle. I realized I actually picked 3 digital ones and 1 physical one, even though most people said physical.
Jump back to Kari's point.
Yes.
I wish it would normalize for physical games to be sold along a download code. So could have both. Is there a reason this isn't? I think that's just purely because it's abusable, right?
Oh,
you could buy the game, you download it, you trade the game in. The only way you could do that is maybe you get the download code, but you need the card in to play it, and then it just defeats the whole object of the thing. And there's a lot of people were saying like, oh, why can't you just buy a physical copy of a game, put the digital copy onto the physical cartridge, and then do that? But like, it's just easily abusable, and Nintendo doesn't want to give people the option to abuse something like that.
Right. I mean, because I think, the game sharing digitally is abusable enough as it is.
Yeah.
And then this, I think you're totally right. And it is unfortunate that there's not a way to do that for convenience sake. But I think, similarly, I mean, you and I could just be like, hey, I'll just send you the code. I'll get it physically, and then we've just
you just half the sales of the game, right?
So I mean, that's just what would happen. So that's the lame thing there, but
it becomes a whole issue.
Of a workaround.
People don't like DRM, right? People don't like you buy a game on a PC, for example, and it's got Denuvo, which is just an anti-cheat, anti-hacking, anti-piracy thing, right? People don't like that. This would be a form of, there would have to be a form of DRM to be able to get you to play. You would have to like register the cartridge to your account, and then when you play the game, you would have to connect to the internet, double check that you own the game, and then the cartridge would connect into a different switch, and they would go, let me check the cartridge. No, sorry, you don't own this game. And it would just be, you would never be able to trade in games. So,
there's that. But continuing on to the next one, Zach Dreek said, I don't support digital BS. Not now, not ever. I don't buy digital only. Oh, wait, I forgot. This is a physical one. I don't buy quote unquote digital only games and will never support them. Also, the physical cartridge that asks us to download part of the game is also considered digital BS in my book. I don't care what anyone says, but 95% of gaming companies are already greedy as F, and Nintendo, it says as F. So there you go. And Nintendo is included here. So simply, I don't trust them and never will. So physical games only. No matter what happens, I don't lose my games. And if the games turns out to be a dumb one, nicely done. Yes. I saw you edit. I can sell it again and get my money back. I had 2 digital games on my daughter's 3DS and it broke, and Nintendo told us it's just 2 games. You can buy them again. I had to get a friend involved. He's a lawyer and he deals with this stuff with these kinds of greedy companies all the time. Thanks to him, we got those games again on our newer 3DS without paying for the same games again.
I can see why you'd be annoyed. I do think this comment lacks a lot of nuance, though. I think things like I don't buy digital only games and never support them isn't fair to indie developers who can't afford to do a full production run. It also means that these developers have to partner with things like Limited Run, only sell the game for £35, whereas you can get it for £15 and they can do it themselves, get all the money, and they can make more games, right? Mm-hmm. I understand like why you might look at it as like gaming companies are greedy as F, and then Nintendo are greedy and that you can't trust them. And I think, I don't know, I think it's a bit restrictive. Yeah. And to also to call it digital BS as something not to support, it's almost like fighting the times. You know what I mean? It's like, why would I MP3s? Why would I'm not buying MP3s. I'm just going to use a CD, and then it's like CDs. MP3. Hang on, streaming. No, I've got all my MP3s. I own my music, and then it's a case of like you need to get with the times because you're looking at a digital problem. Wait, for analog eyes, right? So you're saying, oh, these companies are gonna, take all my games. I'm not gonna have ownership of them in the future. But the infrastructure of the world we're in now is that servers are being kept on longer. The Wii that was in a sort of more of an analog age, well, you could buy games up to like last year, the year before, or whatever. That's a 10-year support for a system that wasn't around when Nintendo had much of an infrastructure. Now they have an infrastructure. You can only imagine that the Switch is going to last 20 years, now that you can buy full games that way, and they have more of an obligation to support it because
I think that's definitely, that's definitely a point, is that we don't know the future. And that's often an argument against it, is like, well, what are they going to do when such and such happens? I mean, that's a big point against Stadia, is like, they haven't said what they're going to do when inevitably Stadia closes or something like that. But at the same time, there is an expectation, like you said now, that these services are services that exist, and like, we haven't seen any of the like very modern era services close down in the same way. But that's not to say that they couldn't. And I think Google. Right. And I think this is totally a reasonable stance to take for yourself, because you could do whatever you want. But I think, it feels far reaching to say it for the community as a whole. And especially when I read the first paragraph, I was like, oh, that feels very harsh. But then knowing that you had an experience with it where obviously there was just bad customer support as well. Like, that's like, okay, I totally get.
But this also doesn't take into account that the 3DS didn't have the system the Switch has, right? The 3DS had a system that when you buy the game, it locks to the system, and that's that.
Oh, does it? I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So when you buy the 3DS, the game you buy the 3DS. Huh?
I mean, it's from 2011, so that makes sense. I was saying that's garbage, but I mean, it's from
yeah. So
10 years ago now.
So Wii U, if you bought a Switch or a Wii U, a 3DS or a Wii U, you put games on the 3DS or the Wii U, they were locked to the console. So you could buy another 3DS, have it log into your same account, and you wouldn't be able to transfer the games over, right? Because they're locked on that system. I think you could do a system transfer like you can on the Switch, and
but if it was stolen or like really
broken,
then
you lose the games, right? Which is what's happened here, right? 3DS was rubbish for that. It was crap for that. The Switch, however, has all the data transfers, all of the, everything's locked to your account now, so you can log into multiple Switches and download the game multiple times, because this is a system made in an era and a world where the infrastructure is there to do it, right? So you're applying a problem with the 3DS to the Switch when the Switch solves that problem, right? So I think it's sort of unfair to just say that, I guess.
I would say, I mean, I'd say too, again, it's totally reasonable stance to have for yourself, but also I'd say maybe it's worth giving in cases where there's just not a physical release because it's an indie developer and there's not going to be a physical release. Sometimes you can tell if like Hollow Knight was like, there's going to be a physical release, or Stardew Valley or something. But there's other ones where it's like
games that were £10, right? These were £10 games.
Right. So I think maybe worth it to think about situations like, is this a situation where I feel like it's worth it to take a risk on, maybe I'll lose this game, but I could always buy it again for $10 or whatever down the road. So somebody left a comment along those lines too, where they were like, it's so convenient for digital, but like, if I somehow lose it, it's fine. I'll figure it out.
But even then, you just contact the customer support, get your account back, and you can just re-download them because the Switch is capable of doing that.
Right. Last comment from the YouTube video. We're going to go so long.
That's fine. I've got the time.
Yeah, man. Last comment. I thought this one was super interesting. Mateus Nascimento from Brazil said, collecting physicals in my country, Brazil, is a nightmare. There's no official distribution other than crappy GameKey website, which with not even 100 games. Physical copies go for at least $80 by imports. I got used to buying digitally with small exceptions. I regret selling the ones that I did. I got a 256 gig cart and it's not enough.
Yeah, I can definitely sympathize with people that don't have Nintendo of America, Nintendo of Europe, Nintendo of Japan, that don't have these big homes, Nintendo homes where everything always comes out in the same place, always comes out at the same price. You have a fully stocked store, all of this stuff. Totally sympathise with people like that. It could be expensive to import. You'd have to sort of like buy a prepaid credit card, and I think that's just down to Nintendo not supporting those countries and those areas. I think that's wrong, to be honest, because there are gamers that want to play these things and they just can't, and it's just such a shame. Like the Key website only has 100 games. There's so many games these people are missing out on because Nintendo just isn't supporting them. And the question is, why aren't they supporting them, I guess,
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's always really interesting to hear about other people's countries' experiences too. But like you said, it sounds like outside of those kind of hub areas, that really sucks, So
it's why I feel bad when a game comes out and you see on Reddit, people go, if you buy this game through the Mexican eShop, the price is half the price of the dollar value. And then when Nintendo gets wind that, oh, why are we getting so many people buying this from America? They're buying it in Mexico, and then so they'll just jack up the Mexican price up to the full.
Interesting. I haven't experienced that or seen that or whatever.
I can't remember what it was. I think it was.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because that makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
But that sucks because it's like it's based on their economy in whatever location they're in. So, like, you know, if the Japan price is more, then it's because in Japan it's reasonable for it to be more for or something, or if it's less, vice versa, you know.
I can't remember. Like, it might have even been Hollow Knight, right? That Hollow Knight was $10 on the or $15 on the eShop, but it actually turned out to be $3 in Mexico, right? So they make a Mexico account. You go.
Oh, never mind. I take it back. Go buy it for $3. Yeah.
So you buy it for $3. And then what happened is Nintendo went, oh, well, we'll just make this the equivalent of $11 in Mexico.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, why is this game triple the price?
Yep.
You know, and it just ruins it for everyone else.
Yep. That sucks.
Yeah, and it's not, especially when countries that don't have the other options. That's their only option. Now they're forced to do it. It happened with Horizon Zero Dawn, where the UK, our price was like £34, and in other countries it was like £17 it worked out to be. In America, people were like, well, we're paying $40. So if I just go onto this other site, or it's this other country, and I can buy it for $17, then I'll just do that. But it ended up, our price got jacked up to 40 quid, which is the same as there's no conversion done there.
Right, yeah.
People were jumping onto like other stores, and Steam has had to go in and patch it because people are, abusing the system and making it worse for other people that have to pay more for the game relatively. If you know what I mean. Frustrating.
It's lame. And the last bit of this, I'm gonna share my screen. Oh, I can't do it from. Oh, no. I'm gonna share my screen, but I would have to do from the other computer, and I'm not gonna do that. Yeah. So I'm not gonna share my screen. Nobody wants to see that.
I just open the tweet.
Yeah. So I was just gonna show drum roll. I mean, I've got drums over there, but I'm not gonna do it. I did the poll on Twitter between physical and digital, and asked physical only, digital only. I would have been curious to see like mostly physical and mostly digital as well, but I just wanted to limit it to just physical or digital. And again, I was surprised at the time, a little less so now. It's 2/3 physical, 1/3 digital was the results.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. That just for me makes sense.
That's funny. Yeah. I really expected more people like Pete, for example, who we're going to just read through a couple of these comments, won't like elaborate on a ton of them, but just to shout you guys out because it's fun when you comment things. I imagine more people like Pete and Grimhane, which are the first two here. Who Pete said has to be digital. Convenience is a big factor for me, but more importantly, think of all the indies you couldn't play because there isn't a physical copy available, which I should have included like only if there's both options available. Cause like, you're not going to not play Stardew Valley when it comes out because it doesn't have
what I had in my head. This was a hypothetical universe where every game that comes out has to have a physical edition, which, like you say in the video, the physical edition and the digital edition have to have sort of price parity, right?
Right.
So
now
in my
it'd be
head,
just unreasonable for so many games.
Yeah. So I didn't think about that at first, and I was like, oh, hang on a minute, but that means that now I've got to pay 30 quid for all the £10 games that I play. And I don't want to do that. It just triples my budget for games.
Yeah. So that was what Pete said. Grimhane said a similar kind of thing. He said, I'm already all digital on the Switch. The game cartridges are tiny and thus easy to lose. And who wants to get up and change their games out when they want a new game? All digital. Oh, also digital can't be stolen. That's true.
But licenses, no, I'm not going to go into that because that just destroys my argument from before.
It is, yeah. I mean, there's definitely complications where I did have a frustration where when Ashley and I were sharing the same Switch and I bought New Super Mario Bros. U on the Switch for her to primarily play, and then she wanted to play it on, and then I got a new Switch and then gave her the old one. Then still it was on my account on that one, and she could download it there and play through my account, but she didn't have her same save file from before. And so that was a pain. So I called customer support. I was like, hey, is it possible to just move this game fully over from one to another? And they were like, after 48 hours, you can't do that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's the same with refunds, isn't it? Nintendo refunds are a bit iffy.
Yep. Yeah. So that's as opposed to like, actually, can you get a refund for a physical game within? Probably not. Because you could just play it and bring it back.
Shop, yeah, it depends on the shop. I think so. A lot of shops because as soon as you open a lot of shops, when you open the game, it just becomes a pre-order, a trade-in.
A used game. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. But yeah, continuing on, Striker XL, who I knew you were going to say physical Striker because you got a great. I think he said he has a friend that owns a game store or something like that.
That's how he gets all of
and so he gets like a bit of a discount on all of them and gets
as well.
a great ones, which is cool.
He's got every collector edition that I could want.
Yeah. He said, I put more value in a game that's physical and the feeling you own it, and the feeling you own it, it's in a nice box art or collector is something I'll never get from digital releases.
Yeah, I agree. So the feeling of receiving a collector's edition is more than the feeling of owning a collector's edition, I find. Like, I open up the stuff, I'm like, this is cool. Then I go, onto the shelf you go.
Yeah.
It's nice to look at,
Yeah, I totally, I mean, that's how I feel about like Pokemon cards, like getting a booster pack or whatever. It's like, oh, it's so fun to open it. And then you open it. And unless it's like Charizard, otherwise you're like, cool. Okay. Yeah. That was the cards.
I waited like 6 months, possibly more, for this Samus Figma to turn up. And I was like, it's here. And the excitement of getting it. And I opened it, I posed it, took a bunch of photos, put it on the shelf. And I was like, the other day I looked at it and was like, oh yeah, I own that. Yep. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's the way it is. But yeah. Continuing on, Pat Green says digital because I can't be bothered physically changing game cards. I do like having cases though for my shelf.
There's a lot of that convenient stuff, isn't there?
I think that sums up pretty well how I feel about a lot of it. Is like I actually care less about the cartridge and more about the box for the physical ones. I'm pretty sure. Other than you can like share it and those kinds of bits of it. And John Mueller, who's one of my friends IRL. Hi, John.
Hi, John.
Said I confess I haven't noticed this on Switch, but on PS4 I've noticed loading times are way longer with my disc games compared to my digital ones. Yeah, I don't think that's I don't think that's an issue with the cartridges to my understanding. I think they tested like Game Explain, Digital Foundry and stuff tested that out and it's very minimal if so, but I know that that's a problem on discs.
Yeah, I guess solid state versus, physical spinning media, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And this is hey, you said something on here. Look at that.
I didn't know I was going to be doing that. Well, I did actually a week in advance. I didn't know it was for this.
And then Falcon said, I have a question for your question. Does this include eShop games? To answer your question, I've always been a physical copy kind of person, strictly for the ability to trade and sell my games I no longer play. There are a few games I'd buy digitally. Those are ones I know I'll always play, like Smash, Mario Kart, and F-Zero. I purchased Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Starlink, and Super Mario Party digitally and kind of regret it. I have a terrible habit of finishing a game and never coming back to it. These games all fall victim to that. So physically is usually the way to go for me. If there was ever an F-Zero game on Switch, I'd buy the digital and physical versions. I think, I didn't understand the last point very well at first, but I get what you mean, like, because you would finish it and be like, I'm kind of done with this, so then you'd want to trade it in. Which again,
I'm very
for me,
good at letting go of games.
I just don't trade stuff in. I'm just going to keep it.
See, I was going to point this out earlier when you said it. So I used to trade in games all the time, right? I was always someone who, I don't know if it's because I'm just bad with money or it was like, before I had a job and stuff, and the only way I'd be able to play new games is to sell my old games. Or I'd be in a situation where I'm like, I need some money for something. I will just sell some games I'm not playing. Oh, gotcha, right? Yeah. I'm now in a more financially stable position than I was in sort of 3-4 years ago, right? And with the Switch, I've not traded in any Switch games because I've not needed to, right? Therefore, I've just had a collection that grows, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, I like having a collection of games. I'm probably going to keep buying Switch games. There are games I'm never going to play again and have no intention of playing again and might just not go back to for any reason. Yeah. There might be games in that collection that I might never play. I just bought them because I was like, I'm going to play that at some point. But I can afford to do that, so I'm going to do that. There are people that can't do that, people that maybe are younger or don't have a source of income or blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Totally understand why. Also, I totally understand if you're just someone who gaming is just a bit of a hobby for you, you finish a game, done with it, trade it in. I've now got some credit towards my next game, and that's fine. One game at a time, play through them. There's, it's a spectrum, right?
It is. I think, that's totally... I don't remember exactly what I was going to say, but essentially, no, you're fine. It's physically, I just don't trade them in. I think I remember what I was going to say. I think I'm just end up being more picky with the games that I'm going to play in the first place. So like I do, I mean, not more picky than you, but just like than I could be. I do a lot of research on like, am I actually going to like this game or am I not?
Yeah.
And so that like, I very seldom regret games that I play,
right?
Because I'm like, yeah, I knew what I was getting out of that. I knew there was a chance. There's some like a few games like Mario Tennis Aces.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like the story mode was oversold. And even though I watched a review where they were like, yeah, story mode is not what you were hoping for, I was like, maybe you're wrong. And I learned my lesson. So
I think the only game I've ever bought, okay, I bought a couple, but the only game I can think of right now that I've bought and regretted and gone, was probably Arms. I enjoyed it, but then when I looked at like, I only got 5 hours of play. In my head, I was like, I'm going to play through with my friends. We're going to have loads of fun and get competitive, and we never did. So I was like, oh, well, that's disappointing. I actually did trade Arms in. That's the last game I traded in was Arms. I had 2 copies. I traded them both in and bought a new game because it was like 50 quid back, which is a full price game. I forgot the point. Oh yeah, what Matey Boy Above, the angry guy, was saying about like I wouldn't buy a game. If I buy a game and it's rubbish, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I am one of those people who I don't buy something without doing a bunch of research. And you know, my phone, I must have watched hundreds and hundreds of hours, probably a bit of an exaggeration, of every phone that was coming out, every review. You know, once I even narrowed it down to the make and the brand, I was like, okay, I've got to watch every review. Finally got onto the decision, and I've not regretted it. Had the same thing for 3 years, right? All my computer parts, I fawned over every single one, watched all the reviews, looked up the compatibility, because I was like, I know that if I purchase this and I don't do the research, I'm going to feel like an idiot when it turns up and doesn't work. Same with I just bought a VR headset, and I could have just dropped the money and bought the first one that came to mind, or the most popular one, but I did all the research, weighed up the pros and cons, and now I know that when I get this thing, I'm not going to go, wish I got the other one, because I know what I'm getting. It's the same with games. I know by the time I bought a game, I've done enough research to know I'm going to like this game, or, you know, I'm not going to like this game. There have been games that I played and I'm like, I didn't like that, but overall I like the experience because I knew that I would. I'm not going to buy a game that I'm going to go, nah. Like, I'm not going to buy a turn-based game because I know I'm not going to enjoy it, right? So
you'll just give it to me instead.
Yeah, well, you know, I'll send it over the ships. Over the ships, over on a ship.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to make the executive decision to. There's some more Twitter comments, but I'm going to leave them. Thank you, everybody, for commenting. We're going to keep on going. And it's actually, as I get into, so we're going to go to Q&A now. But the first couple are going to be related to this too, because I also did a poll on YouTube on the community, and some people commented. Instead of Q&A, they left some comments on that question as well, which is great. So we'll read these real quick. But the results were pretty much the same. It was physical over digital, which again makes sense, but was surprising at first. So some quick thoughts on those. The Nintendo Gamer says, I like having the wall of loneliness, aka the Switch case wall.
Oh man, now I'm looking at my Switch case. What does this say about?
Because do you keep them in the cases themselves or in like a? I keep them.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got mine in my Switch case has 8 slots in it, and then I've got another thing that has 12 slots in it.
Oh, okay.
So I keep.
You're one of those guys that had all your movies in a big folder, right?
I was one of those guys whose parents had the movies in a big folder. I just didn't pay attention. But yes, I mean, it's for the goal of it is so that I could bring all of my games with me everywhere I go, because I like bringing the Switch to other places and being like, let's play these games or whatever. Yeah. And I don't want to be like, somebody's like, you have Mario Tennis Aces or some game that I'm like, oh, I guess I do, but whatever, it's at home.
Yeah, I do have a case that has like 5 slots, and I did used to take, you know, before when I was going out of the house, I would take it in case, you know, I had I was like, if I'm out and someone wants to play Switch, what am I gonna want just in case? It was Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, this, that.
Yeah, that's why I bought those digitally.
Right. Those are the games I knew I was going to play. But I also then, when I filled out the case and had all the games, I was at the point I was like, this is now becoming like a 600
That's where I am. I have one more games than I have slots, so I can put it in the Switch. But then if I get any more games, then either I have to get another container, or I just am like, I'm just going to put them in the boxes, you know, and carry a couple with me.
Yeah, because that's what I started doing. Because when I looked at the big full case I've doubled the value of this thing that could be stolen.
Yes, right. Know? Yes,
because I feel that I have once or twice. This is going to sound stupid. Once or twice, pulled out of a friend's car driveway, turned around, started driving, and go, what's that in the road? And it's just my Switch. In its
Oh
case.
no!
I'm like, I don't know how that happened, but it's lucky I saw it. I didn't run it over.
You like put it on the top or something, and
maybe,
then like
or it just fallen out of my bag because my bag's got one of those zips that starts right down here. Anything could have happened.
Yep.
And I'm like, imagine if that had all my games in it. Like
a leprechaun. Probably was a leprechaun, just like
let's leave on the floor. A boggart, not boggart. What's the thing? What are the things called that in D&D that can just teleport hands and pick
I'm not
teleport things away?
Yeah, I'm not sure that
I think it's boggart. I think it might be boggart.
I mean, boggart sounds right, but if it was something different, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, okay, fine. Yes,
not that far. Well, we finally did have our first D&D game back since quarantine started last week. That was fun.
We just started a new. So our DM Felix is a bit just anxious about the whole thing still because things are still not looking good in the UK. So fair enough. So one of the other guys was like, instead of continuing on this sort of year-long campaign, I might start something brand new on Roll D20. I think that's what it's called. And we do something over Zoom. So we had like a session here, made our characters. I'll talk to you about it after, actually, because it's a really interesting way of building a character. I'll talk to you about it after.
Cool. That sounds fun. So we'll continue with these. Rex Cosmos says, with the coronavirus, I'm not reselling physical games at GameStop, so digital wins. F-Zero Kid says, let's get physical. John Enquist says, I bought ARMS and Kirby digitally, preventing me from trading them in for the empty games they are. Yeah. Now I always buy $60 games physically.
Yeah, those are honestly the two games that I would be upset with. Actually, it makes a good point about like the value of a game physically, like $60 game physically. That if I'm spending 60, 50 quid on something, I want something that I can have as a physical, something to show for it. Because I know in 2 years, in 3 years down the line, Switch 2 comes out and they go, your games aren't compatible. It's not going to, hypothetically, I can then just take this big stack of games down with the Switch and get more money back than I would have done if it was all digital.
Yeah, so. I wonder, I feel like both will be. I feel like physical and digital will be backwards compatible. But I wonder in the Switch 3, it's probably like maybe the form factor changes after the Switch 2. And at that point, will they continue supporting either one? And if so, which one? That's what I'm curious about.
It's probably more likely that digital games are going to be supported in the future than physical.
I would think so too. Like, I feel like the Switch is the beginning of the time where the online is the way that like old games are going to be, like with the NSO and SNES games, NES games and stuff like that. But I feel like moving forward, this is the start of our library and it'll continue with us that's on really Xbox and stuff. Yeah. I hope so. But all the backwards compatible, all the like old stuff is going to be either in collections that come out from third parties or first party games through the online, which we have right now, which I'm fine with, to be perfectly honest.
I just had a thought of you going down to GameStop in like 20 years time and being like, so the login for this account is AJ at fanatixfour. How much can I get for all of these games?
Yep. Okay, continuing on. This is the last one on digital, physical, and then we're getting into actual Q&A. Cool says physical all the way. There we go. We did it. Digital versus physical. The answer is, I don't know, kind of depends. Now into actual Q&A, which means this could take no time at all, or we might be here for hours and it'll be fantastic. We also started late. It feels like we've been going longer than we have just because I'm looking at the clock as opposed to like, I think it's only whatever.
So I think started just before 10 o'clock, so it's only really been an hour and are we coming up? I think we're coming up to 2 hours.
We're coming up on 2 hours, but that's
fine.
That's normal for this, yeah.
Yeah.
And anybody who's still sticking around now, you actually probably like it being long, which I like listening to long podcasts because like if I'm mowing and a podcast finishes before the time I'm done mowing, then I'm like, this is the worst mowing. But like if it's, if it keeps going afterwards, it feels like this, it didn't take too long. So here we go. This is actually a great question for you. Cool continues on to ask, are there any games you know of that are like Monster Hunter World? I really want a fantasy RPG game, but I'm having a hard time finding a good one. Any suggestions?
You're cool. Have you heard of a game called Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen?
Do you have that on Switch?
Yes.
Have you played it?
Yes, finished it.
Oh, okay. I bought it on sale at a long time ago. And I was just like, it'll be there when I am ready for it. And I'm just playing other games.
I would recommend giving it a go.
Cool.
So it's Capcom. It's a Capcom open world RPG. I said not to say like in like as a Ubisoft kind of game, but I mean like it's an open world RPG, but it's got kind of like fun Capcom combat that like
more like in the way that Dark Souls is kind of open worlds.
No. This is genuinely like there's a big open world.
Right. I do remember seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah, you make a character, you pick a class. There's like 6 different classes, like 3 main classes, and then 3 subclasses that are like between the triangle points, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you roam around. You can have big swords, you can have hammers, you can have all sorts of things. You have like a little party with you that you can make. So you make a character your pawn, I think they're called, and you make them look how you want, and you give them all the skills and stuff. And then you hire other people's pawns, and it can be randomly generated ones, or other players have made pawns, and you bring them with you, and then they send experience points back to their games. It's kind of fun, but it's very much like you roam around a big open world, going into dungeons, fighting big bosses. You can climb all up the bosses and stuff. It's kind of like Monster Hunter World,
right?
And the combat feels very much like, you have a big sword and you go bang, bang, big charge attack, whack. Great video on my Twitter. I might try and find it actually to enjoy myself. There's a griffin, and like I think I knocked this griffin down, and I'm like charging up this huge attack. And I just walk up to it, and I go, and I just watch its health bar go, like 3 health bars down with one big.
That's awesome.
That's cool. It's really cool. I highly recommend it. Cool. I didn't get the most out of it because it got to the end of the game, and there's a whole point where it's like you need to save your beloved, and I was like, I can't wait to find out who the beloved is. I don't know who this person is. I get to the end of the game, and it's this one woman that she betrayed me at a point in the game and got me locked in prison, and I was like, why is she my beloved? Turns out there's an entire relationship thing that you can do that I never did.
That's
only woman I interacted with, it was one of those people you could like fall in love with. To be so all the points are at 0 apart from her who's at 1, but I hate her. But she was my beloved at the end of the game.
So it's like it's like in Fire Emblem 3 Houses, where like the one that you're like above an S++ or whatever with, you can marry them, except for this is anything above whatever's highest.
Anything above 0 apparently counts, because that person was like 1, and I was like, oh. So I kind of feel like if I went back again, I'd try and find more people to marry. Oh,
that's interesting. Okay. Yeah. Well, I've got it downloaded and stuff, so I need to give it a try.
So that is my
I'm just gonna borrow your pawns because I know you can do that, and then
try and find me if you can.
If they're all leveled up, then I'm just gonna let them carry me through.
I'll try and give you my see if I can give you, like, I don't know if I need an account or anything, but I'll load it up.
Yeah, I have no clue.
I'd also recommend Dauntless if you're looking for a free to play free to play Monster Hunter.
Good point. Yes.
But I would say if you're looking for like a proper sort of,
is Dauntless more like Monster Hunter World or classic Monster Hunter? More like classic Monster Hunter. Okay.
I think it's more like classic.
I mean, that
sort of changed the formula up a bit, didn't it? So,
it did. Yeah. Nice. Next question.
I'm interested. Sorry, before we move on, I'm interested in hearing Bianca's.
Good point. Yeah.
Thoughts on Dragon's Dogma, because I know she's a big Monster Hunter fan. It'd be interesting, and big Dark Souls fan. And I think I played Dark Souls, immediately played Dragon's Dogma, and I thought that there were some similarities. I'm interested in hearing. So, Seven, hit me up and tell me what you thought.
Yep. Sam Diaz said, I think Parker said something about sending in his Joy-Con for drift repair a couple episodes ago, and that reminded me to do it too. I highly recommend doing it. It only took 2 weeks for all 4 of my Joy-Con to come back like brand new. Looking forward to the podcast. Peace. This is a great reminder. I had the page all pulled up to do it, and then I just forgot. But I've been noticing it still, and it's very annoying. So yes, thank you for the reminder. I haven't done it yet.
Oh, I thought he was saying it happened a few episodes ago, but he's actually saying you mentioned it.
Yes, I mentioned I'm about to do it, which the next day was when I pulled it all up to do it, and then I just didn't. So yes, thank you for the reminder. It doesn't seem like it's very hard, to be honest. It's just they give you a packing slip. You put the Joy-Cons in a box or something like that, stick that packing slip on there, send it out to them. They'll send it back. Which is great.
I'm not doing it. I just bought new Joy-Cons instead.
I've got 4 sets, and 2 of them are real rough.
4 sets? Yeah, I've got 3 sets, and I've 2 of them are unusable, 2 of the sets. So,
I don't have all 4 because some of them were rough. It was 2 were from 2 switches, and then another one was from an extra one at the beginning, so that I had 2, and then we got one for Ashley. So that's where we're at. Reed Alexander, who also I noticed commented last week right after the podcast actually went live or something, so didn't make the cutoff, but asked, my question is, would AJ be down to battle me in Super Smash Brothers Ultimate? I know I'll win all the rounds, even with characters I don't play with. LOL. Fox is one of my favorite characters to play with in Smash.
Can I reply as AJ?
Yeah.
Are you done? Yeah. So yeah, that's him wanting to play Smash Brothers with this person. How much he loves.
Wow, that's a good AJ.
Was that really good, or are you humoring?
I was humoring you, but it was fun. It was pretty good.
I did a really good
Actually,
Reggie
yeah,
once.
that
I'm not
was,
gonna try
you know
it
what?
now.
I could see it. That was the inflection
Hi,
was.
hello. There you go. That's a bit of AJ for you.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yep. So there you go. I'm sure. Yeah, just join our Discord. The link is in like any video of ours. The link is in there, and then just go to our Discord.
I'm almost certain it's going to be in the description for this podcast, right? Because I said it at the top. I said it at the top. Don't make me a liar.
It is. I just forget.
Yeah.
That's questions from YouTube community. Now questions from Twitter. Duncan asked us, we used to see a lot of video game adaptations and tie-in movies with a lot of video game adaptations and tie-ins with movies and TV shows, but those have all but gone the way of the dodo. I think it's time to bring licensed games back, but not for film. If you could adapt one book/series into a game, what would it be? I don't read many books, which is the only problem.
But it does say /series, right? So
yeah. I mean, I guess book series though, not. I think like
no, because it says not for film. So if you get one book/series, right? So like
I don't know. I'm gonna go book
TV
route.
Series.
Okay,
I don't know
go for it.
But you go. No, you go first. Cool. Go with your book.
I haven't read it, and there is a movie, and there's going to be another movie of it, but it's a book originally. Dune, I think would be. That's like a super interesting.
Have you played the Dune board game?
I haven't. No, I know very little about it, except for a long time ago, I listened to, I think the Stuff You Should Know podcast or one of those podcasts like related to how stuff works, and they love Dune, and so they talked about it in one. They did like a whole 2-episode thing on it, and it was very interesting. So yeah, I think that would be a cool one, just to like see that world, and like it's always fun to have different universes and stuff. That, or the other option is the first book that I ever loved, Holes.
Oh wow, yeah, that would be great.
Which I mentioned on Twitter a couple weeks ago. That book, I read that at the same time as I played Zelda Oracle of Seasons, so they're always intertwixt in my brain. I can't think of one without the other.
I can't listen to Hybrid Theory without thinking about Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver on PS1.
Oh man,
what a combination! Yeah, edgy.
Hybrid Theory, that brings, I mean, that's honestly, that's the album that got me into caring about music for me, as opposed to like just being around it. And like, I mean, I loved music and I played music a little bit, like flute and stuff as a kid, but that was the first album that I was like, oh, I like music. Yeah.
That was the album that when I think about like where I am in music now, I'm big into sort of, I like heavy music, I like guitar music, and I like, and I like hip hop, sort of, rap. And I think that all stems from Hybrid Theory, right?
Yep.
Because I wasn't a big rap fan before then, and I wasn't a big into any heavy music before then. Listened to both of them, and now look at me go. Hey, if I had to pick a series to be a game, it's the Seinfeld game, man.
Yeah.
I want that Seinfeld open world RPG, man. That's what I want.
Oh, honestly, I talked about it on podcast like 2 weeks ago or whatever. But a sitcom game would be so interesting. I think.
Like an episode of the show in a way. Like a lost episode kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would.
Or it's a whole season, and then like each like character you meet spawns if it's an open world thing, each character you meet spawns a new like episode of like that, thing, and it's a bunch of jokes and dialogue trees and
like a visual novel kind of thing. I just thought of a great one, right? It's kind of filmish. Batman, the Adam West series, as like a campy, like the sort of the setup of the Arkham games, but you're like sock pow, and then it's all stupid stuff like we can't. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb, but it's like that. Like you're doing a whole bit through.
Okay,
that.
I've got to. When we watched The Dark Knight in 2012,
best film ever made.
At so me and one of my friends had been talking about, I guess, the Adam West Batman. Some days you can't get rid of a bomb. That whole thing. The end of The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight Rises. You in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, The Dark Knight.
I said the exact same thing. I'm in the cinema. Watching it with my friend, and he goes away, and I lean to my friend and I go, Some days you can't get rid of a bomb.
Because for anybody who doesn't know, at the end, they're like, what do we do with this big old nuclear bomb? And they drop it in a bunch of water. And like, maybe it's not on purpose, but it made me so happy.
Oh, it's the exact same thing. Amazing.
Oh, Yeah. Otherwise,
how
movie
media can do that.
It's so true. The Dark Knight was great. The Dark Knight Rises was pretty good, but as I went to buy my ticket to go up to the movie, I was like, hello, lady, I would like a ticket for this movie. And she said, oh, The Dark Knight Rises? It's great. There's a great twist in it. And I was like,
that's the worst.
Why are you don't work, you shouldn't work at this place.
My memory of that film is that I just had a job not for very long, maybe about sort of like 6 months. So I was still I was a student. I had £400 a month living on that, which is a lot of money back then, but I was just buying things all the time. So I bought the IMAX tickets for me and a friend, bought the train ticket for us to get there. But because we had to go into London, it was in Waterloo, the big IMAX in Waterloo, before they had IMAXs everywhere. It's one in my hometown now. So we got the train to London Euston, which is like the hub of London for us. And I was like, I can't afford to get the subway, to Waterloo. So I was like, we're going to have to walk across London. So no joke, we walked the whole of London to Waterloo, watched the film, and I was like, we've got to walk back to Euston. So we just trudged back the whole way through, and we just it
sounds awful.
Great film though, not as good as Dark Knight, still.
Speaking of great things,
sorry,
AJ. No, that's exactly what we needed to know. AJ asked, anybody else feel bad for Nintendo Switch Karen? 2020 messed up her brand, dude.
Yeah, man.
I've actually thought about this a number of times. As I see her and I'm like, oh, that's Karen. Oh, but a Karen.
Yeah. That's a slur, man. Can't be throwing the K word around.
No. I did ask Ashley, I was like, what's the name for a Karen, but a sorority girl Karen? You know what I mean?
There is this. Yeah, there's Kaylee or something.
She said
like that.
Becky was what she calls them. I don't know if that's the popular thing.
Becky, I think Becky's it.
But I was in line at Chick-fil-A, which you don't have over there, but it's great. No. I love it.
So on this always closed on Sundays?
Yes, it is. Yeah. But I was in line at Chick-fil-A. I think originally, it's a Christian establishment, sort of.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And so that's pretty much why. But yeah, I was in line behind a Becky, and it was like, she took forever to order and all that stuff. And then as she finally pulled away, the girl who was taking my order was like, I don't know why it took her so long to order. They just couldn't decide, blah, blah, blah. And then as we got our food and we pulled out, she was at the road to turn left or right, and just was just sitting there, not even the road was completely clear. And she was looking in her bag or something. And there was a line of 7 cars that built up behind her.
Oh, how annoying.
Go, just do the thing. And she was like,
entitlement.
So I have my Chick-fil-A sauce. I was like, Becky, you get out of here. But continuing on. I do, yeah. I drive so much.
I thought pretty much. I had a commute for some reason.
No, I mean, I do have a commute, but it's in the car. But pretty much, if you're in the U.S., pretty much you drive. Unless you're in New York, Bob or whatever, public transport here is garbage.
Okay.
New York and probably L.A. and some other big cities have good public transportation. But even Nashville, which is a pretty big city, it's bad.
Yeah, I get that.
And that's compared, Brussels has great public transportation, and it's and then even more London is, a huge
if you were, you can get anywhere. Have a train line onto London. That's why houses in my area are so expensive, because you just hop on, you're in London. Then you got to walk to Waterloo to watch Dark Knight Rises. To sum up AJ's comment, I do feel bad for her, because she didn't do anything wrong. She's not complaining. She's not asking for the manager. Although if she was asking for the manager, her prayers would be confirmed, because Football Manager has been on the Switch for a couple of years now. All right.
Hey, true that. Bianca asks, discuss preset characters versus player-created characters. Characters who already have a set name/personality, but customizable clothes and such go under the first character, or the first category. Basically, would you prefer a completely blank slate, or one that you can just make some choices for, dialogue? Probably Shulk would be a good example of that. You can still change Shulk up a little bit, but he is Shulk,
So a large part of why I didn't get into Xenoblade Chronicles X, but did get into the first one and 2, was because you made a character and then your character wasn't the main character. It's not until after, now that I realised that Elmer was the main character and that I should have maybe put more effort into trying to enjoy Elmer as a character, because I was the whole time my character's not saying anything. He's just sort of generic. I was kind of bored. I don't mind character created games, but I do prefer games where I am playing as a character, playing a story that's given to me. I like sandbox games. I like making choices and things. I'd rather do that with a character that can engage and do things in games, right? And has the story is about them, not a game where if you plucked me out of that story, it would still happen, as it
Right.
What do you think?
I think it definitely depends on like genre and stuff too. Cause like I could see in Monster Hunter in general, like that kind of thing being, it wouldn't really help much to be a set character.
Right. Yeah.
Cause just like the way the game's built is like, hey, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like I prefer, I think, like Rex in, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 or whatever. Like, I like that the character I'm playing has motivations and stuff. And there is the chance that you might not line up with those motivations, but hopefully the character's written well enough that you should, or at least mostly, and that you should be kind of on their side. And that it's more endearing and stuff like that. But even if they don't super interact, like Mario in Paper Mario, it's a very story-based game, but like he's not, doing a whole lot of, he's not doing any talking.
Well, I guess it's not really, it has a story, but it's not one of those games where you get immersed in the story and the decisions.
Right. Yeah. That's very true.
Can I just quickly make a point for the video watchers? That's for the nose. That's for the mouth. Because I realise I've been doing a lot of like, right, wipe the nose, wipe the mouth, and I'm like, that looks like the same tissue. It's not the same tissue. Okay, these are two. I just don't want to get a reputation.
The video watchers are thrilled that you said that because they were very worried.
They might have been, Parker. They might have been.
It's true. I didn't notice it, but only because I'm talking.
Looking at yourself. Looking at yourself. Looking at the top.
Yeah, or so entranced by your wonderful good looks.
Stop it.
Crunchy Miku asks to talk about, as a Q&A, to talk about their game ideas, which they wrote in a tweet to fanatixfour. And we won't have many thoughts because I don't know much about any of these, and I apologize.
I'm reading it going over my head.
So I think it's kind of in response to AJ's video last week talking about anime. Yeah, with anime. Last week? 2 weeks ago. Last week. Yeah. 2 weeks ago, yeah. Anime games that could be well done. A Code Geass? I don't know. Geass? Probably Geass. A Code Geass game made by Intelligent Systems. Overlord game in the same style as Persona. Rumiko Takahashi fighters to play just like Kill la Kill If did. And a hybrid heart game in the same style as Senran Kagura.
I know the word Persona.
I know the gaming sides of most of all of these. So Intelligent Systems, obviously. Persona, Kill la Kill If, only a little bit know about it. And Senran Kagura, I'm familiar with the concept. But I'm sure you're right.
I'm going to challenge Ian to go in with that. I'm gonna clip this tomorrow and tweet it at Ian. Ian, there's a comment here from Crunchy Miku that I'm going to link in the tweet that I inevitably send you tomorrow. I'd like you to answer this person's questions because I am just not equipped. I'm going in with the floppiest of brains trying to work out what else happened in the comment. And it sounds like there's a lot of good ideas in here. I just can't decipher them. Be my mind, be my eyes, be the babblefish in my ear, and just say the things that I should be saying, but I'm not saying to this person who's clearly got a lot to say and a lot of thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Back
to the scheduled program.
Back to the scheduled program. In that scheduled program, I'm going to point out that you and I have the same door behind us.
No way.
And we legitimately, what if we were just in the opposite room as each other?
Does it have the squares at the top?
No, it doesn't. I was wrong. It's just got little twizzly bits. I'm not going to move it. It's got little things at the top.
Ignoring that, it could be the same door. That's spooky, man.
Yeah. I mean, what if, you just open it and it's like, that's you.
Parker, if I could open that door and see you right now.
We stop recording.
We just go out the window, man.
For sure.
I'll tussle your hair. I'll go, give me that beard. Give me that big old beard. And it'd be lovely.
It would be so good. Also, similar to your tissue thing, if anybody's noticed the fact that I don't have my ring on, it's because Ashley was like, you need to give your ring finger a breather because my ring is kind of small on my hands these days because I am not as
muscular
trim as sure. Yeah, we'll go with that. But if anybody's like, are you even still married? Yes, I am. And everything's good.
Married to the game.
Yeah. Speaking of games, Erin Fields asked a question that I thought was very interesting. She said, what's a game you thought you'd enjoy when it hit the shelves, but actually hated once you played it?
I think this is not going to be a game that I've bought, but a demo that I've played. And I think it's Kirby's Star Allies, which I think is going to be AJ's as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. That I think totally with that one. When I first saw it, I saw it and Yoshi next to each other, and I was like, Yoshi, I don't know about that. In reality, Yoshi's fine. I've been playing it this past week just because I was like, I never beat it. Might as well beat it. But Kirby, yeah, I thought I was going to be more excited about that between the two. Played the demo, and I was like,
the demo just played itself. So I just immediately, I didn't even pre-order it, but I was like, I like a Kirby game. I 200%ed the Kirby game on Game Boy Advance, the remake of the original. I played it for his Meta Knight, did everything you needed to do. But yeah, this game just did not appeal to me as an adult.
I think so. That and I feel like there were. I mean, Mario Tennis is kind of one. I don't hate that game. I was just disappointed by the lack, because I thought the mechanics were phenomenal. I thought it played super well for a Mario Tennis game. I really enjoyed it. The Mario Tennis Game Boy Color game I really, really like, and it's mostly a single player game. So that's what I'd like to have had out of this experience. But the single player was just super basic, not robust at all. So that was disappointing.
Might be controversial for you. Octopath Traveler.
I can see that. I feel differently for myself, but I can understand it for somebody else.
Yeah, I got it as a gift, and I played through. What's the woman that's like Harnett? I played through Harnett.
Oh, that's what I played.
Playing as the thief straight after that, and I started playing as like Master, whoever that one is. The woman.
Primrose.
Give me another one. Not the dancer.
Oh, not the dancer.
The woman who's
what's her name? It's the Tiger. It's the cold. The girl in the cold area.
Maybe.
Yeah, I definitely know.
Master. Oh,
yeah,
Master.
That's Ophelia.
Yeah. I think that's her. I think that's her. Yeah, I don't know. I really liked the art. I really liked the idea of it, and I was like, it's turn-based, but I can probably get behind it. I'll give it a go. Ella got it for me for my birthday. I gave it a solid try. I just didn't get on with it because it was turn-based, and I just can't do it, man. If it's not Pokemon.
Was that so? It was the combat that mostly threw you off it, or?
Yeah, I mean, I did a couple of the bosses, and I was like, the bosses were pretty cool, and it looked really nice. And I didn't mind running around talking to people and trying all the different abilities, like, I'm going to use this thing and steal this thing. I'm also going to talk to the animals and get the animal thing and this sort of stuff.
Talk to the animals. Yeah.
Talk to the animals. It just wasn't for me. So I gave it to a friend of mine who does love RPGs, and he was very happy.
Well, there you go. Nice. Yeah, I feel like there's probably something else that I need to look at my Switch and be like, what was on there? But
yeah, I went to grab mine, but it's in a bag somewhere. So.
Mine's downstairs, so I'm lazy.
Usually
and we're recording.
Distance. I can have it by here.
But good question, Aaron. That's super interesting. I'm curious, Aaron, if you're listening, you should comment one for you because I'd like to know.
Yes, interesting.
Next comment or question from I'm gonna stay inside, aka Dark Type Music, said L or M.
L. Obviously
meaning linguini or mariachi music.
Linguini.
And I've got to go linguini, Yeah. No, I'd say Luigi, just because he's got more personality. It's just fun.
He's the better, Mario's like, let's go. It's like, sometimes I don't want to go. Sometimes I want to be like, oh no. Sometimes I want to be scared and just sort of Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I want to be, wow, he's out. I don't want to be like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I want to be like,
we just timid. Do our impressions.
I want to be, it's just us two going, hey, it's me, yeah. That's more Waluigi, actually. Hey, it's me, Waluigi. I'd rather be Luigi because he's sort of lankier and he floats better. And Mario's just like, boring, man.
Yeah. And I don't think,
when he does interesting things.
Like, I don't think if somebody's like, well, without Mario, there's no Luigi. I'm not answering also to respond to that, even though nobody's saying it. I'm not answering which do I want to exist or not exist. It's just like, of the two that now exist as the world it is. Yeah. Whose mustache would I want to tickle?
Yeah, exactly.
So no, Luigi just has more personality, is a fun character, and Mario is, has to be a little more upstanding citizen, which is.
Do you think there's an alternate universe where the two of us could do a Mario and Luigi like cosplay?
Oh, it's not an alternate universe. We're in it.
Here we are. I need to be able to grow a better mustache than this.
The Infinity Wah. That's one of my favorite memes is the Infinity
great.
Wah with all the it's ton of Waluigi's and one Wario. Oh,
that's good.
John Mueller again. Hello, one of my friends.
Hello, John. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Jonathan.
See, I was doing your English impression in my voice. Hello, Jonathan. Me, good. Parker. Parker Deal.
So one of my friends from high school is in the UK and is an animator. And I saw he like puts up animations and 3D graphics and stuff that he makes on Instagram, and they're all super cool. And so the other day I was just like, hey, by the way, the stuff you do looks super cool. Also, if you ever need like voice acting or something for animation things, it would be super fun to work with you and do that. If not, also your stuff's really cool and I like it. But
he's a Patrick Warburton.
So, but he did say, he was like, well, I mean, I do this stuff on the side, but I work for an animation company that does stuff. I'm not even sure exactly what they do, but and he's like, mostly we're based in the UK, so most of the voices we need are British ones. But but he's like, but if we ever need an American one, we'll let you know. And I was like, if the tables were flipped and they were in the US, I'd be like, I feel confident enough in my British accent. But the fact they're in the UK, I'm like, nah, they've got plenty of people.
Well, I can do a British accent. That's me doing you. That's
right.
More it's powers than anything like that.
Right. It's
groovy, I think, baby.
Groovy, baby. Which that instead of Austin Powers, that makes me more think of from the IT Crowd.
Matt Berry.
Yeah. Also from what's the newer show that he's? Yeah, I started watching that. It's great. I need to keep watching it.
He does Garth Marenghi as well in Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Oh, I don't even.
He's got a very. He does. There's a radio station in the UK called Absolute Radio.
Okay.
He does all of the voice for them. So all of their
that's
other stuff. He's like, "You're listening to Absolute Radio." I can't do it at all, but like he'll do all like the adverts where he's like, "You could text this number now. Have your say."
That is one thing I'm really excited about for when we're adopting, and when we are finally able to adopt and have a kid. I loved my mom reading to me as a kid, and she'd read The Hobbit and do voices and stuff. I'm super excited about doing that with our kids.
You could definitely do a Gandalf.
It'll be very fun.
You could definitely do a Gandalf. Do a Gandalf right now. Treat me.
So here's John Mueller.
Would you rather play Smash with your least favorite characters or with your main but reversed controls?
It's a little bit more Treebeard, but
some sort of custom controller with attacks on the left and movement on the right.
Wow. Wow. If I had an animation company and I needed an accent.
There you go.
I actually should read that because I was laughing over it.
The real question is,
would you rather play Smash Brothers? Go on.
Yeah, would you rather play Smash Brothers with your least favorite character or your main but reverse controls? Some sort of custom controller with attacks on the left and movement on the right. Easy answer. Ooh. I only kind of have a main because I purposely pick characters I'm bad with until I'm medium with them, at which point I get worse with them because I know what I'm doing and am predictable and bad.
You just suck the game, right?
Yeah, it's a lot better to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, and then just kind of figure stuff out and be unpredictable.
I entered a Smash Brothers tournament for money last year before.
Nice.
But I picked up the character I was going to play that day. Mm-hmm. I was like, if I go in as Samus, I just know I'm going to be embarrassed. I'm going to feel bad about playing Samus. So I picked up Lucas, who we used to play on. Brawl, right?
Yep.
So I haven't played him in years. So
just up smash the whole time.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Or even just. So I started using PK Freeze a lot, and apparently PK Freeze isn't used very often. So I was just hitting off the side, PK Freeze, hitting, and they would just die. Right. Mm-hmm. I got into like the semi-final. If I'd won that one, I would have won the third prize.
Wow.
Which I think the third prize was like a pro controller or something like that.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I've made it this far. I beat all these people as this character. I'm going to do fine. PK Freeze killed him as DDD. He was like, I just don't know what to do, man. I don't know what to do. Then he very quickly learned that I always PK Freeze. PK Freeze. So he was like, oh, I can just... This is becoming an AJ episode right now. I can just jump over that. And then my mate was like watching, and he just got me because he just knew my tactic. And my mate was like, why didn't you just PK Freeze high? And I was like... Ooh. I'd become predictable, like you say. Like, as a character, I wasn't that I got better with them and then became predictable because I was just like, this is the tactic.
That's exactly what I've done with, like, I played Villager for the first time against somebody and I was like, oh man, I'm doing great. But we were playing a 7-life stock and 4 lives in, it was like,
you hate yourself.
Yeah. I don't know. And 4 lives in, it was very like he was losing and I was winning. And then he figured out that I was only doing like 2 things because it was the only 2 things I knew how to do because I just started playing Villager. And then it went from like, to he decimated me. But it was fun.
I would go with least favorite character because Smash Brothers is more fun to play than it is to be good at. So I would rather play Smash Brothers and
for me,
be
100%.
bad at it than I would be trying to fight against controls.
Yep. And then, like, I don't know, exactly, because it feels bad to do something that you feel like you should be good at poorly versus doing something that you don't feel like you should be doing good at poorly or well, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I played once or twice with just one sideways Joy-Con, and it was awful. It was the worst. And I was playing, like, one of my better characters. Like, I was playing Young Link or something, and I was like, oh, this is not fun.
We were on the ferry back from France last year, and I was playing Smash Brothers just in handheld mode, just getting some practice in. It was like a 9-hour car journey, but we were on the ferry on the way back finally to the UK, and Ella's dad was like, "Oh, Trent, her brother, plays Smash Brothers sometimes. You should play with him." And I was like, "Yeah, all right." Gave him half a controller and was like, "I'm gonna wipe the floor with this kid. He didn't know my power." Gave him the controller, like half the controller. I was like, "That's all I've got. Sorry, mate, I've only got this half controller." I was like, "That's right. This is how I play it." And I was like,
"No,
I don't play it this way." And it was the most tense game because I was like, "Can't lose." I made such a big effort.
Yeah,
like,
right. Yeah,
been like, yeah, whatever. But giving him his main controller. I won in the end, don't worry. But it was
okay, well, good. Because I've been in that situation. I played against my cousins when they were like 8 and 12, and I'd been playing a bunch of Brawl, and we played Brawl. This is like back in, I don't know, 2011 or something like that. And lo and behold, we were playing on their custom stages with all items on and Smash Balls and stuff. And I was used to playing, you know, Final Destination only with my roommates who they were way better than me, but at least I was used to no items and all that. And then all of a sudden, you know, like I'm not used to going to grab Smash Balls, and they would just go get the Smash Ball and win.
Oh yeah.
Like, that sucks.
Yeah,
So.
as soon as the items get turned on, right? I'm like, oh, this is the playing field is leveled. I'm so used to playing Final Destination, nothing else. And then as soon as the items come in, it's like, you've got the bat now. How am I supposed to beat it? The bat? How can I outplay the bat?
Everybody's good with the bat. Pat Green, speaking of more like Bat Green.
Nice.
Said, I'm not sure I understand this question.
I do.
What is
Slimon's favourite game genre and why? Slimon is the name of Ella's pet giant snake. This is a comment that was left on my Twitter from Pat. Okay. So, Pat, Slimon's favourite game genre. Oh, I had a joke for this. I've lost it. Oh, no. Oh, no way. Oh, I even thought something. I was like, I'm going to save this for later because it was really good.
He's come up with a better one. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a pun of some sort. Say some genres.
His least favorite genre is Smash Brothers because of all the salt.
Oh, that's good.
He also likes Mario Kart because of all the shells.
Yep.
He likes Splatoon because of all the slime.
More like Splatoon or Slowtoon.
It starts coming. I've lost it now. That's it. Oh no. So he likes to eat peppers. So if there's a Peppa Pig game, he might like that.
I mean, similarly, he could like Star Fox for that reason. I don't know. Because
Pepper, that's much better. If I remember the original joke, Pat, I'll tweet you.
Cool.
That's annoying, man.
I'm doing a terrible job at my dad jokes on this one. I don't.
That's fine. You know, you don't know who Slimon was till 2 seconds ago. I've had weeks of practice on who Slimon is, mate. I'm best mates with him.
You are.
He's a giant little man.
Scott, who you mentioned earlier, who works at the game shop, right?
Yes, he does. Yeah. That was a good.
Scott Kamalski said, considering the virus is seemingly impacting Nintendo's plans and slowing development of all of their future titles to the point of no news worth releasing for months, what are the chances they're working on a solution for the Joy-Con drift?
I've got this one, Parker.
Very little.
Yeah.
I think that they're gonna bare minimum this, and they're gonna do just what they need to get past this lawsuit. And then maybe release a new version of the Joy-Con. Yeah. They're not going to do anything now because all that's going to do is admit that, there's a problem. Yep. They have said, like, there are issues we can't talk about. But I think anything that is like we fixed the problem, then
right. I think the only way they can fix the problem without getting into legal trouble is by circumnavigating it by releasing something new. So instead of it's the Joy-Con but fixed, it'll be it's the Joy-Con 2.
Here's a new set of Joy-Cons. Here's some new features. Oh, by the way, also fixes Joy-Con.
Right.
You said circumvent. That's what it's, or circumnavigate. That's a word I really like.
Oh.
There's a word a word that Ian reminded me of on the podcast a couple of weeks ago when he said diegetic, and I was like, I remember the word diegetic. And it's
that's always fun.
I mean, in films it was like I don't think he explained it, but in films it's like
I think
if you hear a sound in the film, is that sound coming from the world of the film, or is it being added in elsewhere? That's diegetic word. So I then used it twice in the same week and spelt it wrong. My mate pointed out that I spelt it wrong.
I always spelled dilemma wrong. I always feel like it should have an N in there, that it should be dilemma. I don't know why.
Why?
I don't always spell it wrong. I want to spell it wrong. I feel like it should be dilemma. I don't know why, but
Say it.
But it's dilemma. I mean, I would never say dilemma, but it's in the same way that I write whilst, but I say while. It just, it's kind of one of those, like, it feels like it should be a silent N. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's like some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Exactly.
All right.
All right. That's it for all the Twitter questions. We're almost done. We're on to Discord questions. Here we go. I love that this one always comes up when AJ's not here, because the last time this question came up, it was just me because I couldn't get anybody on the podcast because everybody was busy.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah. Youth Hurt asked, can you guys talk about the origin of the Fanatixfour name / history of the channel for a little? Thanks so much.
So
go ahead and tell us, Max.
Okay, so back before AJ merged into one person, was 4 much smaller people.
Yep. It's like Link in Four Swords Adventures. How after that he was like, I'm just one Link again.
Split into 4, right? Yeah. Because the thing about AJ you might not know is that he reproduces asexually by just splitting in half, becoming a different person.
Or sexually. It's up to him.
However he's feeling that day, if he's feeling a bit saucy or not. So when there was 4 AJs, one of them didn't like video games very much. So Logan did like video games, right? So there's 4 of them will hang out at 3 AJs. And basically, whenever they wanted to go and see like an 18 movie, they had to like, get on each other's shoulders and put a big trench coat on.
Yep.
But they were like, do you know what's a really good film? Fantastic Four. And they meant the new one. Because, I mean, the small AJs are all idiots, right? They haven't got any sense of taste or quality. That's why they all like the new Fantastic Four movie. So when they were like, let's make a YouTube channel, they were like, why don't we call it Fantastic Four? And then the one AJ who doesn't like games looked up from his book, because he's a book nerd, right? He's a book reader. Looked up from his book of laws and was like,
his book of laws.
That's copyright. And the others were like, what's that? They're a bit dumb. They like games, right? So he was like, you have to change it a bit. And they were like, well, we're all fanatics in that we all follow a cult. They're all in a cult, by the way.
Of course.
And Logan was like, I'm down for that. And then he just disappeared into smoke. It was weird. He was never heard from or seen again. And then the big combining happened. There was like the clone of AJ was like, I'm going to pull the lever, but you'll never see me again. And then the other AJ was like pointing a gun at the clone AJ, and they were like, which one's the real one? And then they all merged together, and he was like, guess I've got this YouTube channel now. And that is where Fanatixfour came from. That was very off the cuff.
That was perfect. Actually, I think that was a little more accurate than you're supposed to know.
Oh no! Don't.
And then it's the Men in Black thing. It's not going to kill you.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it'd be like the whole like what? It's Fanatixfour was 4 AJs, and you're like always was. With the gun behind me.
Yeah. That's a fun meme. I'm glad that exists. I don't even know if I want to try to answer because it's way more. No, that's it. That's the answer. Well, at some point when AJ's back on, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Actually, even when AJ's on and he's asked, he kind of doesn't like super go into it anyway. We don't talk about it specifically. So like I have gathered bits and
because he was 4 different people.
He was 4 different people. Of course, his memories have been suppressed, and
I'm sure
more suppressed.
That at some point.
But whatever. Here we go. Next question.
Let's answer these questions one by one, right?
Yeah.
These next ones.
Grimhane said, "Why is Max?" That's it. That's the question.
I think.
Very Descartesian of you, right? I think. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's.
I don't think that hard.
Just, I mean, at all.
Yeah.
It counts. Same here, man. Next question: which came first, the chicken or the egg? And related, which came first, the chicken sandwich or the egg
I
sandwich?
feel like you and I are going to have different answers for this one, because I'm going to say that the egg came first because whatever the precursor to the chicken must have had an egg, right? And then it eventually evolved into what we now know as a chicken. Therefore, the egg was first. Whether you have, I don't know how your stance on creationism versus, I know you're Christian, but I don't know how it all filters in.
Mine is more. It's more along those lines than without getting religious or whatever. I mean, a little bit is for me. If I, assuming, my religious beliefs, I get to heaven, whatever. And I'm like, yo, what's up, God? How did it all happen? Literally any way that he's like, it happened like this. I'd be like, all right, cool. That's fine. Whether it was 7 days, 40,000 years, 7 billion years, I'm cool. I don't really care. But I would tend to believe there's a lot of proof that like sciencey stuff that it probably happened the sciencey way,
Yeah.
So that's my little spiel there.
Grimhain is trying to drive a wedge between us, Puck. I don't like.
But no, yeah. So I'd say something along the same lines. But even then, I don't know how it would. I don't understand evolution enough to even know how that works. So, at what point was it a chicken? I mean, probably yeah. At some point, the first egg was like, that's going to become, when it comes out, it's going to be chickeny, I guess.
I just can't imagine a world where there were chickens that were giving birth like a mammal does. Yeah. And then we're like, why are we not using eggs? This is a little quicker.
Yes.
It's much easier.
Yeah. So, yeah. There's that. Which came first, though, the chicken sandwich or the egg sandwich? 100% the chicken sandwich.
Yeah, definitely. Because people were like eating the meat of the chicken probably, and they were like, what's this weird thing?
That's what I want to know with a lot of these things is like, who decided, I mean, people say this all the time, but who decided the first person to be like, something's coming out of that cow. We should probably do something about that.
I know the answer to this one.
Oh, no.
So, I mean, obviously it's going to be a case of like, we breastfed and therefore we're like, that's probably the same thing. But also it's like, you see a baby cow walking away from a mama cow, looking all satisfied, milk dripping down his mouth. He's like, but he's going, moo, ooh. And the cavemen are like, that looks tasty. I
could do some of that.
Look how satisfied that cow is, and then they try it. Same with like cheese. How like they probably like cut open. This is gonna get real gross. They kill the cow, cut it open, get the stomach out, and they're like, "What's this weird substance?" And it's cheese because the rennet in the
wait, really?
Stomach.
That's a
So
they can turn the cheese in the udders.
So to make cheese, it's not cheese as we know cheese, but to make cheese you need rennet, which is an animal product, sort of an animal byproduct. They've made it not animal product, but it's like in the sheep's stomach or a cow stomach, I think. You need rennet to mix with the milk in order to separate the curds and whey, right? So they open up a stomach and they're like, this cow's just been drinking milk. Why are there these curds in here? And what's this delicious whey looking stuff? So they were like, why don't we try and keep milk in here, and then and then curds and whey happen, and then they eventually you get mac and cheese, right?
That's how it happens.
The two are connected. See, I'm saying a lot of things here as if I'm stating facts. These are just things that I know from how like information.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
You just go, that's how that happened. Yeah, so I know because the fact that we're talking about Grimhain's questions, Grimhain's going to go, actually. Let me tell you, I've actually done some research into cows, and let me tell you, cows hate milk. I don't want that because I know cows love milk.
Cows hate you, so.
Well, yeah, cows are stupid opinions, don't they? They're not best thinkers, are they?
And there you go. He finally asks, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a blow pop? Max is hereby volunteered as the tester. Parker can be in charge of the experiments done to get the solution.
Is the blow pop the lolly? What word do you use for lolly?
Lollipop.
Lollipop. Is it when we go, is that a blow pop?
Oh, no. A blow pop is, it's, if you know what a Tootsie Roll Pop is.
No.
Actually, this is a better question. Do you know the phrase, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
Don't know what it means.
Okay, interesting. So there's a thing called a Tootsie Pop.
What's at the center? What's in the middle?
So do you know what a Tootsie Roll is?
No.
It's like a taffy-ish.
Used to use it, or people used to use it to look like, because they thought Rachel was right? Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
So it's kind of a taffy, chocolate-ish sort of thing. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but so at some point they made a Tootsie Pop it's a little bit of that, like a sphere of that, like that big or whatever, and lollipop around it.
Got bubble gum inside it.
Exactly. You got it.
Yeah, boy. See that? So, making links.
But in the 50s or whatever, and actually there's the Game Theory, Film Theory channel. They just, which also Dan Seibert, he edits for them. If y'all know who he is. So they made a food theory channel, and where they also answered this question. It just came out this last week, and this is probably kind of what Grim Hane's referencing, I'd guess as well. Where they tested out what's the fewest licks that it could take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. And it was, I think one person got in like 96 licks, but they optimized. They'd like made sure they were as sweaty as possible and got like a full lick. And
I don't want to get into this science question because the one time that I happened to dare say that it might take me a week to swim to the US, I got a breakdown. I don't want to say. I don't want to. I'll volunteer the test.
Did somebody say that it would? Wait, was it Grim Hane? Did he say that it would take less than a week?
Grim Hane specifically said that, it would take less than a week. But I said, if I'm swimming for like 12 hours a day and then sleeping, then it would take this amount of time. But if I'm like unrealistically swimming from A to B and never stopping and going at a constant pace, it would take this amount of time.
I mean, I think to be honest, it takes some people 5 minutes to run a mile. It would take me longer than 5 minutes to run a mile. It takes some people even longer to run a mile.
Do I seem like I'm a competitive swimmer?
Yeah, you're not a competitive swimmer?
No, sadly not. My number, not that I've thought about this a lot, I'm not mad about it. My number came from a man that actually did it and said it took me this long. I then assumed that, if I was going to do it, I'd have to at least be as good as that guy. At least be the best I could be is as good as that guy.
Yep, it's true. We got two last questions and then we're done. Mega Man asked, what has been a new skill you've developed over lockdown? And I actually have an answer.
Go.
I'm so happy. I got Ashley an espresso machine for her birthday last week, and I've been making iced coffees, and I've gotten pretty good at making iced coffees. So I'm happy about that.
I taught myself to make a cheapo, if I want to make an iced coffee in a pinch recipe, right? So you get a bit of warm water in the bottom of a... go back. You get instant coffee. Do you have instant coffee, like coffee granules, freeze-dried coffee in the US?
Yeah.
I know you have so you get like 2 of that, 2 spoons of that, teaspoons. And then you have like an equal amount of sugar, right? Sounds quite sweet. You then cover it with like hot water, warm water. You mix it, it becomes like a syrup.
Okay.
Top that with iced milk. You've made like a what's the word? Ghetto iced coffee.
Yeah. Nice. Are there any skills that you've developed over lockdown?
Yeah, weirdly out of nowhere, just out of nowhere, I've developed the ability to save money, but also spend money.
Look at that.
Before lockdown, I was like, I don't know where my money goes. I don't have any money. I don't have anything to show for it. Where's it all gone? Now, I've just bought a new TV. I've bought a new computer. I'm like, where's all this money come from? It's nice. It's really nice.
There is some truth to that, because before this, Ashley and I were both working, and I was like, where is our money going? And now only I am working, and I'm like, where's our money going? But at the same pace. Which is like, okay, cool. We're saving a lot of it. That's great. But I still don't understand how this is the same as before.
Yeah.
Something's different, but
There must be something relative, because when I was like earning £400 a month, working 16 hours a week at a local shop, my money was disappearing at the same rate that it was now. Like I'm earning, I'm not going to say how much I earn, but I'm earning more than that. I'm working full time and being paid a full time.
$1 million.
Wait, which one is it?
I think
there you go. $1 million.
While in the UK though, which is odd.
I'm working full time. I'm earning money, and yet, before there was a point like a couple of years ago where I was like getting to the same point in the month and being like, I don't have any money. But before, when I was earning £400 a month, I was like, I don't have any money. At the same point. But then now I had to pay for like phone bills, and I had to pay for things. How was I doing that before? But lockdowns happened, and now I'm
true.
going to buy a house. So
now that's the plan. Last question is from Golduck Pikachu 45, who asks, "Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?" Asking for a friend.
Well, let me tell you, if you don't renew your Nintendo Switch Online subscription, it will just go away. if you don't have the automatic renewal turned on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are not using it, you're going to forget, right? You're going to be playing. You're going to go back to Smash Bros. Or Mario Kart after like 6 weeks and be like, "Oh, I can't play it because I've not got it online." However, if you're like playing it constantly and using it, you're going to be like, "I'm going to run out." Oh my god!
Counterpoint though, because that's true. But counterpoint, now that things are set up for automatic renewals, if you don't lose it, you're less likely to lose it sometimes, because like I could just forget, oh, I have a Netflix account, and then it just keeps on going, you know, and then you never lose it because you're losing the money though. That's for sure. So
it's true.
Watch out for those.
But also, if you're not lifting weights and consuming an amount of protein and the amount of calories that keeps you in a muscular form factor, you do lose it eventually.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's accurate. But you know what? If you don't use your Twitch Prime subscription, you're going to lose it.
You do lose it. You're right. Like I have it for months.
And so, you know, go subscribe to that. But then do all the other YouTube stuff, whatever. Go to lootpots.com. Go to anywhere else you want that is safe and family friendly and happy. Or
my OnlyFans if you want to do the opposite of that. I don't have one. I wish. Yeah.
And that's it from us, y'all. We're done. So we will see you next week and stuff. I mentioned on Twitter, I'm making a video next week that I'm very excited about. I'll tell Max about it after we get locked up.
Cool.
All right. That's it from us. See you guys later.
Everyone.